Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Reiki Recovery. I can fast forward infinitely. Chapter 41. The governor Chen Xuan left, but everyone present was still immersed in the shock brought by Su Mu. Su Mu, 9 refinements and 1 realm, 58,000 vitality, 61,000 basic strength, 1,280,000 combat power. This is Su Mu's current data. Except for the first stage, that is, the realm is a little lower, every other item is amazing. Donghai City once again boiled because of Su Mu. The second round of strength tests came to an end. Even if there were a few people in a few large groups who hadn't been tested, they couldn't attract the slightest interest from everyone. Su Mu was once again pushed to the cusp of the fishing boat, which further confirmed his identity as the disciple of the king of the Tang dynasty. At the end of the test, Su Mu, accompanied by the Lord Wang Yang, went to the Dutong mansion. In the reception hall, Su Mu once again met the number 1 person in Donghai City, Metropolitan Chen Xuan. A marquee-level powerhouse above generals. Maybe it's because the realm is much higher than Su Mu. Anyway, Su Mu can't see the slightest difference, and Su Mu even feels that he is not as vigorous as Wang Yang. Entering the hall, Chen Xuan motioned for Su Mu to sit down casually, and then directly took out a bunch of things. 32 bottles containing body-quenching pills. This was exactly what Chen Xuan had won in a bet organized by the top management of Donghai City. Seeing the quenching body pill, Wang Yang's eyes straightened. Unfortunately, Chen Xuan rolled his eyes directly, and said to Wang Yang, "I'm in charge of your share, and I will give it all to Su Mu. Anyway, your body is almost tempered, and this thing is useless to you." Wang Yang's heart was bleeding. He really wanted to say why it is useless. If he can't use it, can't he save it for future generations? Chen Xuan only knew that Su Mu was an orphan, but he didn't know that this guy had become extremely rich recently. He, the city lord, still owes Su Mu a large sum of money. Of course, he could only think about it. In front of Chen Xuan, he could only agree. It's all up to the authority. Chen Xuan nodded. "I heard that you promised Su Mu a not-so-low reward, and you still owe him money." Wang Yang's face darkened, and he glanced at Su Mu. If Su Mu hadn't been under his nose all the time, he would have suspected that it was Su Mu, a fool who had gone to Su. Chen Xuan frowned. "Don't look at him, he didn't tell me. I don't mean anything else. I don't bother with your Donghai City mess. I just want to tell you that Su Mu is an orphan and he needs support." Wang Yang almost vomited blood. Su Mu is an orphan, but he needs his own support. Just kidding, Wang Yang now hopes that Su Mu will support him. How many goodies has Su Mu gotten back and forth since the test? After that, there is also the reward promised by the governor Chen Xuan. Su Mu is very rich. Wang Yang nodded with a stiff face. "Don't worry, tomorrow at the latest, I will definitely honor the reward and the share I owed him before." That's good. Only then did Chen Xuan feel relieved, and continued to dig things out. Obviously, Chen Xuan had cashed in the rewards to Su Mu in advance, so he didn't have to wait for tomorrow's test results. What he said before, there is only one thing that Su Mu hasn't done yet, and that is to kill the Division Level 9 major monsters, which is equivalent to the martial arts 9-level realm of ordinary human warriors. An ordinary martial artist at the 9th level has a basic strength of nearly 90,000 to 100,000. Combat power depends on the situation of combat skills. As for monsters, many of them have innate skills, and their combat power is stronger than that of humans in the same realm. So under normal circumstances, the combat power of the Division Level 9 great monsters is around 1 million. But now, according to Su Mu's test results, the combat power is 1.2 million, and it is not a big problem to kill the Division Level 9 major monsters. Then, he took out a long spear. This spear is simple in appearance and has a lot of brilliance. As soon as this object came out, even Su Mu could feel a strong energy wave emanating from this object. This is the leaking blood spear I mentioned before, a top-class mysterious weapon. Just like the marksmanship you practiced, it is suitable for you. Chen Xuan said that if the combat power exceeds 1 million, the blood spear will be rewarded, and now he is fulfilling his promise. Su Mu was not polite, and took it directly. The leaking spear was hot in his hand, and even his qi and blood started to work automatically, as if he was pulled by the spear. Good gun. Su Mu couldn't help but sigh in admiration. Chen Xuan said with a smile. Imported weapons also increase combat power, but they cannot be quantified like combat skills. This mysterious top-grade weapon is enough for you to use for a period of time, and you don't need to pursue Earth-level or Sky-level weapons in the future, you can directly transition to spiritual weapons. Su Mu doesn't have a specific concept about Earth-level, Sky-level, and spirit weapons. In short, it is enough for him to know that these are good things. Su Mu put away the spear, then looked at Chen Xuan. Chen Xuan grinned. Don't worry about the qi and blood pool. When the third round of testing is over tomorrow, you have determined the exercises again. Take the body tempering pill to enter the blood pool. I will give you 3 days. Su Mu nodded. Chen Xuan then took out another book of combat skills and handed it to Su Mu. This is what I specially selected for you, the top-grade combat skill at the ground level, and the marksmanship, Rainstorm Pear Blossom. Chen Xuan was very thoughtful, and gave Zon-level long spears and prefecture-level marksmanship and combat skills, all of which were complete sets. Su Mu took it. Thank you again. Chen Xuan went on to say, the last thing is the exercises. Although there are no rewards I mentioned before, I can provide them if you need them. Su Mu got up and cupped his fists respectfully. Thank you, Mr. Dutong, Jr. Chen Xuan hurriedly stepped aside. Don't rush to thank me, and I can't bear your thank you. In a few years, maybe you will still be my boss. Su Mu grinned. Chen Xuanhei's words also made sense. Su Mu's current test results, as long as there is no problem in the subsequent Detang Wufu training test, he will almost certainly be able to enter the Wufu. After a few years, Su Mu may be the mainstay of the Detang mansion, who can tell? Then, Chen Xuan said, the matter of the exercises is like this. The highest exercise that I can get with my authority is the Earth-level exercise, but I suggest you choose the Sky-level exercise. A heavenly skill. Su Mu frowned slightly. Cultivation techniques are different from combat skills. Combat techniques can be changed at any time, but once the technique is determined, the next path is determined. It is not easy to change later, it is equivalent to starting from scratch. It is very important to choose a skill. It should be as high as possible, and the strength of the same realm will naturally be stronger, but you must also consider your actual situation. Because the higher the level of exercises, the more difficult it is to practice, and the greater the consumption. Chen Xuan continued, your combat skills can be cultivated to the level of transformation, which means that your comprehension is very high, and your spiritual power seems to be not low by nature. It should not be a problem to practice heaven-level exercises. Su Mu nodded, and said directly, then choose a heaven-level exercise. There are only 2 heavenly exercises in the Tang Mansion. Chen Xuan continued to introduce. Both of these 2 are in the hands of the Great Tang Martial Mansion, or in the hands of the Li family, the master family of the Great Tang Mansion. The first one is the most widely circulated. Many geniuses in the Great Tang Martial Mansion have practiced this exercise. It is called, Purple Qi comes from the east. It is said that the king of the Great Tang used this exercise to prove the Tao Martial King. The second part is called, Wu Ji Jing. It is said that after the king of the Tang dynasty proved the king, he challenged many kings, watched many heavenly exercises, and finally created it himself. This, Wu Ji Jing, is said to be invincible at the same level after it is completed, and even leapfrogging is a piece of cake, but the flaw is also obvious, that is, it is extremely difficult to practice, and it is said that there is no great master. Whether it is the flaw in the practice itself, have no idea. After listening to Chen Xuanhei's introduction, Su Mu had a general understanding of these 2 heavenly exercises. Then, Chen Xuan looked at Wang Yang, who had been silent all this time. No matter which exercise you choose, I can't play a big role, and you have to rely on the king's city master. As soon as these words came out, Su Mu looked at Wang Yang in surprise. Wang Yang smiled awkwardly. I told you before that I brought you to meet someone, just for the heaven-level exercises. Su Mu suddenly realized that Wang Yang mentioned twice that he wanted to take him to meet a person, and it turned out that it was for the heavenly exercises. Chen Xuan then interjected. Master who used to be the immediate boss of City Lord Wang, and the general of his Wu Wei army. Wang Yang nodded and continued. It's just that the general didn't even confiscate my greeting card, so I'm worried it might be a dead end. Before Su Mu could speak, Wang Yang continued, don't worry, I will do my best to deal with this matter. Don't delay, just today, continue to send greeting cards. I will go with you. Chen Xuan reminded. Su Emu's test results are already known all over the city, and it is even rumored that he is a disciple of the Tang Dynasty king. I don't believe that Lord Hu doesn't know anything about it. While the three of them were talking, there was a quiet house in the northeast corner of Donghai City, not far from the city gate. At this moment, a young man dragged a huge monster walking all the way from the gate of the city. Those who saw him, no matter how strong or weak, took the initiative to get out of the way, and even the patrolling city guards hurriedly avoided, as if they were afraid of offending him. But obviously, this boy is just a warrior. In the end, the boy dragged the monster into the quiet house. In the courtyard, birds were singing and flowers were fragrant, and the environment was very elegant. A middle-aged man was playing chess alone. When he made a move, he switched sides and continued to make moves. The apprentice pays homage to the master. The boy dragged the monster to the front and bowed respectfully. The middle-aged man raised his head and glanced at the monster on the ground, then frowned. How many times have I told you, drag these flesh and blood directly to the back kitchen, don't dirty the flowers and plants. The teenager smiled awkwardly. Master, I heard some news when I went out today, thinking that the master might be interested, so I rushed to report it. Explain. The middle-aged man continues to play chess. Recently, the East China Sea held a hall test, and the first place was named Su Mu. He is not weak, and there are rumors that he is the disciple of the master. As soon as the young man said this, the middle-aged man's hand that was about to drop the child suddenly stopped. What? The boy repeated it again, and the middle-aged man put down the chess pieces and stood up. Joke. The crypt has been in frequent turmoil recently, how can the old man have time to recruit disciples? The middle-aged man was the great general that Wang Yang had spoken of before, and the Lord Marquis that Chen Xuan had spoken of. That is, Li Qingfeng, the youngest son of the great Tang king Li Daoyi, was once a very famous and strong man in the great Tang mansion, and was even expected to be the head of the mansion, but he disappeared afterwards. But not many people know that he lives in seclusion in this small East Sea city. Then, Li Qingfeng frowned slightly. Go and find out about Su Emu's situation, I want to see who has the courage to pretend to be the old man's disciple. Yes. The boy turned around and dragged the huge monster corpse down again. At the same time, Su Mu followed Chen Xuan, the governor, and Wang Yang, the city lord, on foot to the small courtyard where Li Qingfeng was. On the way, the two gave Su Mu a brief introduction to this young master of the Tang dynasty. This person is not simple. He used to be a peerless genius, a martial artist at the age of 18, a breakthrough general at the age of 20, and a Marquis of Wu before the age of 30. Although he is still in the Marquis of Wu realm, he has the ability to kill even stronger venerables. Leapfrog fighting. The higher the realm, the more difficult it is, because the gap between the two sides is more difficult to make up. When Li Qingfeng reached Wuhou realm, he was still able to leapfrog to kill Wu Zunjing, which showed his terrifying strength. The former Li Qingfeng had 3 identities. In the Li family, they belong to the direct lineage of the king of the Tang dynasty and are expected to take over the position of palace master. In the army, it was the general of the Wu Wei army of the Tang dynasty who led thousands of troops to fight in the caves, making the enemy frightened. In the great Tang martial mansion, he was the deputy governor, and he personally founded the Jidao Academy, which is famous throughout the world. However, during a battle in the catacombs, the Tianzhou strongman he personally cultivated was lost in that battle, and he disappeared from the public sight in a disheartened manner. According to Chen Xuan, the reason why Li Qingfeng lived in seclusion in the East China Sea should be related to the disciples he has now accepted. This young man may be the descendant of the strong man he brought down to the cave and died in battle. Su Mu, you should be more respectful when you see the general later. Wang Yang reminded. The status of the general is extraordinary, and his strength is also extremely strong, so don't make mistakes. Chen Xuan also nodded. Yes, you can do whatever you want with us, but you still have to keep a low profile when facing this Lord Hu. This is the real pillar of the Tang mansion. Su Mu nodded in response. While speaking, the 3 of them had already arrived at the door. Just as Wang Yang was about to knock on the door and hand over the greeting card, the door opened from the inside, and a young man came out. The boy was Li Qingfeng's disciple, named Zhongzi, and like Su Mu, he was also an orphan. Seeing the three of them, Zhongzi was not surprised, but frowned. Are you asking to see master? Chen Xuan cupped his fists very politely. Please inform, the governor of Donghai City, Chen Xuan, is asking to see you. Wang Yang followed suit and said, Wang Yang, the commander of the retired team of the Wuwei army, begged to see the general. Su Mu also had no choice but to clap her fists together. Junior Su Mu, please see Lord Hu. When the two people in front spoke, Zhongzi looked calm, but when Su Mu reported his name, he looked over directly. Are you Su Mu? Exactly. Su Mu frowned slightly and replied directly. After being confirmed, Zhongzi raised his brows, his blood surged loudly, and he was about to use pressure to test Su Mu. Boom! The coercion was approaching Su Mu, but Su Mu stood still and didn't move at all. Instead, his eyes turned cold. You want to do it? Zhongzi was slightly startled. He had 70,000 blood, and the coercion was not of much use to Su Mu in front of him. In Donghai City, this was the first time he met someone his age who could match his blood strength. Of course, what he didn't know was that Su Mu's vitality was only over 60,000, which was 10,000 less than him. The reason why he was able to resist his coercion was related to his lack of condensed coercion. In order to help Wang Yang face other city lords, Su Mu specially practiced the condensed coercion for a long time. Under the highly condensed coercion, he was able to resist the coercion of this Z. Su Mu was also shocked. Z's strength actually surpassed her. Seeing that coercion is useless, Zhongzi curled his lips. Wait, I'll report to master right now. Zhongzi just turned around, but a very calm voice came from inside. Let him in. Yes. Zhongzi responded, then opened the door and made a gesture of please. Seeing this, both Chen Xuan and Wang Yang breathed a sigh of relief, but just as they took a step, a voice came from inside again. I mean, he came in alone. Chen Xuan and Wang Yang were suddenly embarrassed, and could only silently take back the steps they had taken. Then, Su Mu entered the house alone. But just as he entered, a terrifying coercion descended instantly. Then, a cold voice came. Who gave you the guts to pretend to be the old man's disciple? In the courtyard, Li Qingfeng was still playing chess. When he felt Su Mu coming in, his blood surged, and the pressure instantly covered him. Su Mu, the first person in the Donghai City Hall test this year, according to his disciple Zhongzi, Su Mu's score is not low. 58,000 vitality, 61,000 basic strength, and 1.28 million combat power. Such amazing results are rare in Donghai City. In previous years, students in Donghai City could have 20,000 vitality and 300,000 combat strength, which is not bad. But this year, this Su Mu is so evil. Of course, the most important thing is that it is said that Su Mu is the old man's disciple. If you say this, others will believe it, but he won't believe it. King Tang, that's his father. His father, King Tang, really likes to wander around, and he will give advice to young people with strong talents. After all, this is the Tang mansion, the Li family is the world. But recently the crypt has been in great turmoil. Where does the old man have time to wander around and take in a disciple? Therefore, Li Qingfeng was very curious about how evil Su Mu was. Su Mu, who sensed the coercion, frowned, his blood surged wildly in an instant, and he tried his best to fight against this terrifying coercion. Hearing the movement, Wang Yang and Chen Xuan outside were shocked, but before they could take any action, the coercion actually included the two of them, making them unable to move at all. The next second, there was a sound of surprise, and a middle-aged man appeared in front of Su Mu. It was Li Qingfeng. But at this moment Li Qingfeng was incomparably surprised. Are you only at the first level? Then, Li Qingfeng, who was talking to himself, stared wide-eyed. Jujuan. This is impossible. After the words fell, Li Qingfeng immediately withdrew the coercion, and said to Su Mu, hit me. But the coercion disappeared, but Su Mu turned and left without even looking at Li Qingfeng. Li Qingfeng was stunned for a moment, but in the next second, he appeared at the door strangely, blocking Su Mu's way. Li Qingfeng raised his hand and grabbed Su Mu. General. Lord Hu. The faces of Wang Yang and Chen Xuan changed drastically, and they moved almost at the same time, to resist Li Qingfeng's attack. But Su Mu was extremely furious, and his blood surged instantly, and he stabbed out the Zon-level spear that had just been obtained and had not been completely refined. Combat technique. Sky-breaking shot. In an instant, the air was pierced by Su Mu with a bursting sound, and the shot went straight to Li Qingfeng's throat. Both Wang Yang and Chen Xuan were stunned, and their faces changed drastically, and they all said, "Don't. Su Mu, don't make mistakes." But Su Mu wouldn't listen. He was really angry. Even though he knew he was invincible, he still stabbed the shot. Ding! In the next second, Su Mu's shot was caught between Li Qingfeng's two fingers. Li Qingfeng was not angry, instead his eyes widened. 9 Forging Realm, Transformation Realm Combat Technique. Are you really the old man's disciple? Impossible. Li Qingfeng muttered to himself. He was really confused. To say that Su Mu is the old man's disciple, but he knows that the old man has never left the burrow recently, so how could he accept any disciples? To say that Su Mu is not a disciple of the old man, but Su Mu can achieve 9 forgings, and his combat power is as high as 1 million. Only Li Qingfeng knows best that it is almost impossible for ordinary people to do 9 exercises, and 7 exercises is the limit for normal people. But Su Mu, seeing the gun being clamped, didn't have the intention to continue to do it, so he let go and was about to leave sideways. Although Su Mu is upright, it doesn't mean he is stubborn. He fights when he knows he can't fight, it's just a futile struggle. Instead of this, it is better to avoid its edge. He didn't believe that the other party was really so domineering that he was going to kill him in full view. And the fact is the same, although Li Qingfeng is domineering, he is not killing innocent people indiscriminately. Seeing that Su Mu was about to leave again, Li Qingfeng's face darkened. "I'm not short-tempered, that's fine, I apologize." Su Mu didn't look back at all, but still stepped out of the gate. Li Qingfeng followed, and with a wave of his hand, Su Mu was dragged into the courtyard uncontrollably. With a bang, the door closed directly. Su Mu knew that she couldn't go, so she didn't struggle anymore, and looked at the other party coldly. "Master who wants to kill, so just do it. I, Su Mu, blink my eyes and I will lose." Ha ha ha, good boy, he has a stubborn temper, which suits my taste. The young master Li Qingfeng was not only not angry, but laughed out loud, walked around Su Mu, and continued full of surprises. "How about worshipping me as a teacher?" Seeing this, Wang Yang and Chen Xuan breathed a sigh of relief. They looked at each other and became excited. Who is Li Qingfeng? He is one of the pillars of the Tang mansion. He is the son of the prince of the Tang dynasty. Even if he is not the lord of the mansion, he is not in power, and he is not in power. But it can't change the fact that he is the son of King Tang. And in terms of personal talent and strength, Li Qingfeng is also extremely strong. It is naturally the best thing for Su Mu to worship him as a teacher. In the next second, although the two dared not speak easily, they gave Su Mu winks. It's a pity that Su Mu snorted again. No way. Su Mu was still angry. If the Li family, the head of the Tang mansion, is like this, I don't think there is any need for the Tang mansion to exist. Bold. Chen Xuanhei's face turned green, because he was frightened by Su Mu's words. He didn't even dare to talk to Li Qingfeng like that, Su Mu actually. But in the next second, Li Qingfeng waved his hand. "It's okay. I know you are angry, but it is rumored that you are a disciple of King Tang. This is true. Let me ask what's wrong. I have never admitted that I am a disciple of the great Tang king. They are all passed on by others. What does it have to do with me?" Su Mu had long thought that this day would come, but he didn't expect it to come so soon. Although the son of King Detang was not King Detang himself, he was also very familiar with King Detang's whereabouts. But Su Mu really never admitted it. Hearing this, Li Qingfeng was taken aback for a moment, then smiled. "Okay, I admit that I didn't have a good attitude before, so it's okay." Su Mu still wanted to speak. Li Qingfeng waved his hand. "Let me declare first that I personally do not represent the entire Detang house. In addition, the Detang house values talents and will never overwhelm people with strength or power. In addition, in front of your two elders, I apologize to you again for what happened just now." As soon as these words came out, both Chen Xuan and Wang Yang's eyes widened, completely dumbfounded. This is the Marquis of the Detang mansion, the existence second only to the mansion master, and he is also the son of the prince of the Tang dynasty. He actually apologized to Su Mu. Li Qingfeng, the majestic lord who apologized to Su Mu. What else could Su Mu say? He could only bow his hands. Junior Su Mu, meet Huyi. Ha ha ha, well, let's not talk about this. Tell me, are you interested in apprenticeship? Li Qingfeng continued to ask, looking at Su Mu at this moment, as if seeing his young self, he really wanted to accept Su Mu. Hearing this, if it was someone else, he would definitely perform the apprentice ceremony immediately. But Su Mu was an exception. He frowned slightly. Dare to ask Lord Hu, what's the benefit of worshipping you as a teacher? As soon as Su Mu's words came out, Wang Yang and Chen Xuan were dumbfounded again. Others can't ask for it, but Su Mu still insists on conditions. In East Sea City, few people know the specific identity of Li Qingfeng, but those who know can't wait to worship Li Qingfeng like an ancestor. For example, Mo Lingyun, he was once taught by Li Qingfeng. It was because Mo Lingyun's father knew a little about Li Qingfeng, so he made all sorts of soft words and sent Mo Lingyun to the house in a daze. Li Qingfeng had no choice but to give a few words of advice. Just like this, Mo Lingyun has benefited infinitely. But now, Su Mu still wants to ask Li Qingfeng what is the benefit. Of course, no one knew that what Su Mu wanted was not a great master, but resources. If he wants to break through quickly, what he needs most is resources, not the guidance of his master. Hearing what Su Mu said, Li Qingfeng froze for a moment, then smiled awkwardly. Of course there are benefits, such as the exercises, the 2 heavenly exercises of the Tang Mansion. If you choose to practice Purple Qi from the East, I can pass it on to you immediately after apprenticeship. But the disadvantages are also obvious. If you follow me, you will not be officially a student of the Great Tang Martial House, because I have already quit the Great Tang Martial House. In addition, all the resources needed for cultivation are earned by myself. I have no money. With that said, Li Qingfeng pointed to Zhangzi, who was standing respectfully in the distance. He is the disciple I accepted before. From the beginning of the Enlightenment to the present, all the cultivation resources are exchanged by him from hunting monsters in the wild. Hearing this, Su Mu noticed Zhangzi. Zhangzi, with dark skin all over his body, has a bloody smell that cannot be concealed. This is the result of years of fighting. Such a character is growing and improving in the midst of killing. Su Mu also has to admit that Li Qingfeng's teaching method can make people improve quickly. Obviously, this Z is not weak, even stronger than himself. It's a pity that Li Qingfeng doesn't have the resource he needs most. Maybe he can earn it by himself, but for Su Mu, this is too slow. So, after hesitating for a while, Su Mu cupped her fists and bowed. Thank you, Senior, for your kindness. I cannot worship you as my teacher. Hearing this, a trace of regret flashed across Li Qingfeng's face, but he waved his hands anyway. It's okay, I can understand if you want to go to the martial house, where there are abundant resources, you will get the best training, and I will choose that way. Then, Li Qingfeng looked at Su Mu and asked, are you looking for me for the exercises? Su Mu nodded directly. The law is not passed on lightly, and you are not my disciple. Purple Qi from the East requires word of mouth. I'm afraid it will disappoint you. Li Qingfeng shook his head regretfully. No, I want Wu Ji Jing. Su Mu said directly. Hearing this, Li Qingfeng stood up directly. No. Before Su Mu could speak, Li Qingfeng continued. You have practiced 9 times, and your foundation is extremely solid. You are indeed qualified to practice the Wu Ji Jing, but this method is not perfect, so I don't recommend you to practice it. The most important thing is that once you practice the Wu Ji Jing, you are considered to have joined the Great Tang Wu Fu Ji Dao Academy. But do you know what is going on with the Ji Dao Academy? Su Mu shook her head. Li Qingfeng continued. The Great Tang Martial House Jidao Academy used to be the most popular, and those who could enter were the best of the best. At that time, it also cultivated a large number of strong people. But later, the shortcomings of practicing Wu Ji Jing appeared, that is, it is difficult to break through. At the beginning, many people practiced the Wu Ji Jing, like me, but most of them stayed in the military general state. Even if they have the combat power of Marquis Wu, they are still just generals. Even if it's me, with a good father and his help to wash the marrow and fill the body, I still stay in the Marquis Wu realm, and I can't break through until now. After listening to Li Qingfeng's words, Su Mu probably understood the situation of Wu Ji Jing. This technique is indeed very strong, but the conditions for its cultivation are harsh. Every step needs to go to the limit of martial arts, otherwise the harder it is, the harder it will be to break through later. For example, Li Qingfeng, in the martial artist period, is a body of 9 trainings, but 9 trainings is not the limit. According to Li Qingfeng, 10 forgings are needed, that is, the real limit is a perfect body tempering. So, in the end, even if he reached Wuhou realm, he would never be able to advance an inch. Of course, the advantages are also obvious: invincible at the same level, leapfrog to fight. Back then, almost everyone was unable to break through, so I wanted to take everyone to the catacombs, but it turned out. When Li Qingfeng said this, his expression suddenly became depressed. It's all my fault. In that battle, the elites were completely lost, and the great Tang Wufu Jidao Academy has never recovered from its fall, and it exists in name only. Although I, the dean of the Jidao Academy, resigned by myself, it is actually equivalent to being deposed. In today's Jidao Academy, there is only one junior brother of mine as the dean. I don't know how he has been in recent years. Maybe he can't even accept anyone. Li Qingfeng's words made Su Mu silent. According to what he said, the Pokemon Academy might not be a good thing. Not only is he lonely now, but because of what happened back then, the Jidao Academy became the target of public criticism. But Su Mu really tried this, Wu Ji Jing. Others can't do it to the limit, but he may not. After listening to this, do you still practice the Wu Ji Jing? Li Qingfeng continued to ask. Su Mu hesitated for a moment and weighed it up. Going to the Tang martial house is for sure. Practicing the Wu Ji Jing can make him stronger at the same level, and he has fast forward, so he doesn't worry about not being able to break through. The only thing to worry about is the resources. Will the resources be affected if you join the Jidao Academy? But soon, Su Mu gritted her teeth. Cultivation, please master who to complete it. Seeing Su Mu's firm eyes, Li Qingfeng sighed. Forget it, then I will fulfill you. I can accept you on behalf of my junior brother, but it's not without conditions. With that said, Li Qingfeng waved to Zhangzi, who was standing respectfully in the distance, pointed at Zhangzi and said to Su Mu. I want to see your true strength. Don't you want to test your strength tomorrow? I'll let Zhangzi also participate. If you can still win the championship, I will pass on the skills to you, and I will personally write a book and tell my junior brother. Then, Li Qingfeng reminded. Zhangzi, the apprentice I personally taught, 7 forged and 7 heavy, is the limit of not walking the ultimate path. Basic blood is 70,000, basic strength is 70,000 kilograms, and using ground-level combat skills, the combat power is 1.4 million. When Li Qingfeng said this, the eyelids of Wang Yang and Chen Xuan beside him jumped. Another peerless evildoer, that is, the other party did not participate in the test and did not take the normal path to progress. Otherwise, the title of number 1 in the East China Sea really does not belong to Su Mu. Even Su Mu frowned slightly, and looked at the boy his age in front of him in shock. This strength is really strong. Li Qingfeng asked with a smile, are you confident? If it was placed before, Su Mu really didn't have the confidence to be stronger than this Z. But now, with prefecture-level combat skills in hand, and the high-grade weapon given by Chen Xuan, it is naturally no problem to surpass Zhangzi in front of him. Su Mu cupped her hands. See you tomorrow. Su Mu left the house where Li Qingfeng was. As soon as Su Mu left, Li Qingfeng's disciple Zhangzi stepped forward to bow to Li Qingfeng. Master, why don't you let me directly fight with him? Li Qingfeng shook his head. No need, his talent is not weak, but his realm is too low, he is not your opponent. Hearing this, Zhangzi was even more confused. Since he is not my opponent, why did Master let him compete with me? You, Li Qingfeng smiled wryly and shook his head. He's not your opponent, it's just temporary. This kid's mental strength is not weak, I sensed it, and he has just obtained an Earth-level combat skill. He may not be as good as you tomorrow. Zhangzi obviously didn't believe it. What could be changed in just one day? Li Qingfeng didn't continue to explain, but looked up at the sky, thinking. The moment he saw Su Mu, he was shocked. It's unbelievable that a little guy without guidance can practice to the 9th level on his own. What he said before was not nonsense. The human body is a huge treasure, containing endless possibilities. But under normal circumstances, if you don't practice skills, you can temper yourself, and being able to temper 7 times is the limit. But Su Mu broke this routine. 9 forging in 1 stage, his blood is almost catching up with his apprentice who is 7 forging in 7. Perhaps he is a hope. Back then, so many Tianzhou practiced Wuji Jing, and were stuck in the military general state, as if something was really missing. Li Qingfeng murmured. He seemed to see hope from Su Mu. Wuji Jing was created with a good starting point, but it was discovered in the actual practice that there were many difficulties. Starting from the martial artist state is the limit of every step, and the same is true for the subsequent cultivation. Every step must reach the limit. And in the process of cultivation, how many people can really reach the limit everywhere? But Su Mu's starting point is very high, and he has almost reached the limit of skin tempering before practicing Wuji Jing. If Su Mu really wants to practice the Wuji Jing, it's not that he can't teach it directly. This is the technique created by the king of Tang dynasty, that is, his father, and he has the right to teach it. But he didn't do that, but asked Su Mu to compete with Zhang Zi tomorrow. The purpose is not only to test Su Mu, but if it is a test, he has already tested Su Mu today. The real purpose is to see if Su Mu can perform miracles again. One day, no, one night to be precise, can Su Mu increase his combat power to the same level as Zhang Zi, or even surpass it? The only way is to practice combat skills. In a short period of time, Su Mu has not practiced skills and cannot continue to practice, so he can only comprehend combat skills. Combat skill training is also the most test of talent. If Su Mu can learn the ground-level combat skills in one night, there is hope that he can reach the level of Zhang Zi's combat power. Donghai Hotel. After returning from Li Qingfeng's house, Su Mu put up the Do Not Disturb sign again. As before, he began to comprehend the ground-level combat skill, Rainstorm Pear Blossom Spear, he had just acquired. This is an Earth-level high-grade combat technique, and the entry has a 26-fold increase. Of course, he either doesn't comprehend it, and if he wants to comprehend it, he must achieve the ultimate, that is, transform the realm. 26 times the entry level, then the transformation realm should be 30 times, reaching the highest increase in combat skills at the prefecture level. Su Mu looked forward a little. This is why he promised Li Qingfeng to compete with his disciple Zhang Zi. With a 30-fold increase, his qi and blood remain unchanged, his basic strength remains unchanged, and his combat power can easily reach more than 1.8 million. This combat power has far exceeded Zhang Zi's 1.4 million. Su Mu adjusted his state and quickly put himself into the state of comprehending combat skills. Under the fast forward of more than 2,000 times, the growth of comprehension progress is beating as fast as a stopwatch. Not long after, Su Mu stopped comprehending. Comprehension progress of the combat skill, Rainstorm Pear Blossom Spear, 120%. After comprehending stronger combat skills this time, Su Mu didn't feel too seriously mentally exhausted. Obviously, his mental strength has increased again. After successfully training combat skills, Su Mu felt a little relieved. He must obtain the Wuji Jing exercises, which are the basis for him to become stronger. Even though he now has a combat power of over 1 million and has reached the level of an ordinary martial artist, but as more and more experienced and powerful people become stronger, his sense of crisis is also stronger. The determination to become stronger is also firmer. Just like the Li Qingfeng I met today, even if the other party only used coercion, he was powerless to resist. And with hands, even if Su Mu goes all out, she can't hurt a single hair of the other party. This feeling is very unpleasant. Of course, Su Mu also knew that Li Qingfeng would not do anything to him, otherwise he would not have gone to see Li Qingfeng and put himself in a dangerous situation. After comprehending the combat skills, Su Mu was not idle. He went to the rooftop as usual, and tried to use the Rainstorm Pear Blossom Spear while no one was around. Su Mu pointed at the gun, and suddenly his fingers turned into countless phantoms. Su Mu found to his surprise that he could transform any phantom into reality. Is this the land-level combat skill of Huajing? Su Mu was overwhelmed with surprises. This combat skill seemed to have undergone a different change after being cultivated to the realm of transformation. Just the fact that it turned fictitious into reality was enough to make Su excited. With the ability to turn fiction into reality, he can arbitrarily transform between fiction and reality, making it hard for opponents to guard against. Now using combat skills, more than 1.8 million, close to 1.9 million, it really is a 30-fold increase. After confirming the effect of the newly cultivated combat skills, Su familiarized himself with it, and then returned to the room to rest. Time passed quickly, and on the second day, many apprentices who participated in the third round of testing gathered on the square again, still grouping into teams according to the previous method. However, there is a slight difference from before. Su is not in line, but stands with the governor Chen Xuan. There are two other people beside the two of them, the same middle-aged and a young man. Seeing these two people, someone immediately commented, "How did this monster come here?" "Hush, keep your voice down, this little monster is very powerful, and the middle-aged man is probably even more powerful. It seems that Dutong is respectful to the other party. What is the identity of this person?" Standing beside Chen Xuan and Su are naturally Li Qingfeng's master and apprentice. But those who know his identity are only a minority after all. Even many high-level officials in Donghai City didn't know Li Qingfeng. Even though they had heard that he, a peerless monster, appeared in the Tang Mansion many years ago, few of them had actually seen him. Soon, Commander Wang appeared and organized everyone to start testing. The test of strength is to test the actual combat power, and the method is very simple. Many arenas have been added to the square. During the test, in the arena, there will be strong city guards throwing monsters to fight with the apprentices. Even though the monsters that were released might not be strong, their fighting power would soar because they knew they were bound to die. The city guards are responsible for protecting the apprentices who take part in the test. And the final score is calculated according to the strength of the strongest monster realm that each apprentice kills. The test starts soon, and the test is still started in the order of sorting from high to low. Individuals choose the monsters that need to be challenged. Start with low-level monsters that are equivalent to warriors. Of course, everyone has 3 chances to challenge. For the first challenge, most of them will choose monsters with lower strength. At the apprentice level, most people have no chance to face monsters, and it takes time to get used to this kind of life and death struggle. The strength test is more interesting than the previous blood and strength tests. Because this is a fight to the death. Time passed quickly, and most of the apprentices in front could only challenge and kill monsters that were equivalent to warriors. But when it came to the first big group, the first group of these geniuses, some monsters who chose to challenge and kill martial artist level appeared. Especially Mo Lingyun and Chen Tianxi. Chen Tianxi's combat strength was as high as more than 200,000, and Mo Lingyun was even closer to 300,000. In the end, Chen Tianxi managed to kill a second-tier monster with a strength of 200,000 at the highest level. As for Mo Lingyun, he killed a third-tier teacher-level monster with a strength of 300,000. So far, everyone has finished testing, only Su has not been tested yet. He was once again in the spotlight. Of course, apart from him, there was also Zhang Zi who joined temporarily. Many people know Zhang Zi. Although they don't know the specific situation, they all know that this guy is terrifying. Because every now and then this guy would go out alone, and when he came back, he would bring a corpse of a monster with him. From the corpse of a warrior-level monster at the beginning, he began to drag the corpse of a warrior-level monster back. Recently, they frequently dragged the corpses of division-level 9th layer monsters back. Of course, the strength range of division-level 9th level monsters is also very wide. Starting from 1,000,000 combat power, it is considered a division-level monster at the 9th level. But at the peak of the 9th level of the division level, that is to say, it is only one step away from the next big realm of general-level monsters. The monsters of this realm are the same as human warriors, and their strength may reach more than 9 million, or even tens of millions. Of course, tens of millions are considered general-level combat strength. Before the two began to challenge, many high-level officials of Donghai City and many students who were watching started discussing it. One is the newly emerged #1 evildoer in Donghai City, and the other is a famous monster who didn't participate in the test. Who is stronger, Su or this monster? This little monster already has a division level 9 level combat power. Can Su compare to him? That's not necessarily the case. Su Mu has been creating miracles all the time. This time everyone has their own opinions. Some are optimistic about Zhongzi, a little monster, and many are optimistic about Su Mu. The strength of the previous Su Mu test is not low, as high as 1.28 million, which is also the strength of a martial artist. During the conversation, Chen Xuan personally hosted, allowing the two to stand on a ring. Choke. Standing on the ring stage, Zhongzi didn't talk nonsense at all, and directly drew out a big knife that he carried with him. He uses a knife, and many people have seen it. 9th level division level, 1.4 million combat power. As soon as Zhongzi opened his mouth, he was a monster with a combat power of 1.4 million. In the next second, Commander Wang waved his hand, and an iron cage was immediately transported by the city guards. When the iron cage was opened, a tiger-type monster rushed out while roaring, opened its mouth to Zhongzi and bit it. This is a monster, not an ordinary beast. There was a terrifying coercion between the mouths of this tiger-type monster, and the strong stench spread, and the bloody mouth directly bit the top of Zhongzi's head. But Zhongzi didn't change his expression. He casually raised the long knife and swung it upwards. Swish. Gululu. With just one blow, the tiger-type monster was directly separated from its corpse. One move, instant kill. He also has a battle strength of 1.4 million, and there are so many monsters, but he can't make a single move in front of him. This is the benefit of Li Qingfeng's way of cultivating disciples. Zhongzi became stronger step by step, that is, he became stronger through killing. He is familiar with dealing with monsters. Then, Zhongzi put away his knife and stood up, and naturally a staff member stepped forward to drag away the corpse of the monster. On the other hand, Zhongzi looked at Su Mu and frowned. It's your turn. Su Mu had also entered the ring a long time ago, but she was not in a hurry to challenge when she looked at Zhongzi just now. Hearing this now, Su Mu also frowned slightly. In terms of combat experience, he is really not as good as Zhongzi, who grew up in the wild. Zhongzi's slash just now also made Su Mu feel amazing. This knife is impeccable in terms of the use of blood, strength, angle, and timing. Combined with the skillful use of the sword technique, this knife can instantly kill the monster. The next second, Su Mu nodded, and also said, "As same as him." Then, the staff brought in an iron cage again. Not only was it comparable in strength to what Zhongzi had killed, but it was also of the same type, which was also a tiger monster. Roar. In the next second, the monster was released and came straight to Su Mu. Su Mu took out the long spear and shook it, and he shook the long spear with a splinter, and then the spear came out like a dragon, and the spear went straight to the monster's throat. Swish. But in the next second, the tiger demon abruptly avoided its vitals in midair, and the tip of the gun brushed past its shoulders, but only brought up a pile of flesh and blood, and missed its vitals. Su Mu frowned, and before the move was exhausted, the spear turned into a split spear. Boom. There was a loud noise, and the powerful force of the gun directly fell down. The tiger monster couldn't dodge again, and was directly knocked to the ground. It seemed that there was only air coming out, not air coming in. Seeing this, some people at the scene sighed. Sure enough, Su Mu is still a little worse than this little monster. Yes, Brother Mu is not weaker than him, the only difference is in combat experience. How did this little monster cultivate? It's like a fighting machine. Everyone commented with regret, but those who know the situation don't see it that way. Wang Yang frowned slightly. Just now Su Mu performed the combat skill, sky-breaking shot, he gave earlier. In other words, Su Mu didn't try his best, and didn't use the prefecture-level combat skill, Rainstorm Pear Blossom, that he just got yesterday. In one night, other people might just be familiar with combat skills, but he knows that Su Mu will definitely have no problem getting started. Also, Chen Xuan, the governor, also frowned slightly. Although he didn't know that Su Mu practiced combat skills very quickly, he could also feel that Su Mu didn't do his best. But Huyi Li Qingfeng's eyes flickered, looking at Su Mu with a strong look of doubt. 1.6 million combat power, thank you. At this time, Zhongzi started the second test, and the challenge monsters directly increased their combat power by 200,000. 1.6 million combat power, this is almost his limit. And it's because the weapon in his hand is also a top-grade yellow-level weapon. Otherwise, with 1.6 million he can fight, but it is very difficult to kill him. Hold head high. This time, what appeared was a very weird monster. It looks like a cow, but it is like a rhinoceros, with a huge sharp horn shining with blood-red light actually growing at the tip of its nose. Not only that, but the entire body of this monster is actually covered in scales. It's the armored rhino. Immediately, some apprentices recognized him at the scene. As soon as the armored rhino came out, even Zhang Zi frowned. This kind of monster is not only born with great strength, the most important thing is that its sharp horns are comparable to high-grade weapons, and it is covered with armor, so its defense is unparalleled. Naturally, he had also killed this kind of monster, but it was also very difficult. Because to kill such a monster, you have to fight for a long time, so that the opponent will expose its weakness before you can kill it with one blow. Boom! When, in an instant, the battle broke out, and Zhang Zi twirled and moved as fast as lightning, walking around the armored rhino non-stop. After a few breaths, taking advantage of the iron-armored rhino's fatigue, he landed like lightning. Swish! In an instant, the fine scales on the armored rhino's neck were cut open, revealing the flesh and bones underneath. Boom! The weakness of the armored rhinoceros is the neck position. Once it is cut open, it will soon lose its blood and die. Call. After the battle, Zhang Zi let out a long sigh of relief, and looked at Su Mu again. I only challenged it twice, and this armored rhino is my limit. The meaning is obvious, if Su Mu can also kill the armored rhinoceros with the same level of strength, he will win him. Zhang Zi does not need to participate in the test, because he is Li Qingfeng's disciple, he does not need to enter the Great Tang martial house to become stronger. Of course, Su Mu can also become his senior brother if he wants to. It's just that Su Mu chose to refuse, and the reason was that Li Qingfeng couldn't laugh or cry, that is, Li Qingfeng was too poor. Now, Zhang Zi made an exception to participate in the strength test with one purpose, to compete with Su Mu. And choosing such a way to fight, Li Qingfeng was also worried that his disciple would be too murderous and would hurt Su Mu. You must know that Zhang Zi grew up hunting and killing monsters since he was a child, which is not comparable to traditional apprentices like Su Mu. Traditional apprentices would not easily go out to hunt monsters even if they had practiced martial arts, because it was too dangerous. After Zhang Zi's words fell, Commander Wang also frowned and looked at Su Mu. Is it still the same? He was also worried about Su Mu. It was a monster with a combat power of 1.6 million, and it was an iron-armored rhinoceros with strong defense and attack, so it was difficult to kill. But Su Mu didn't hesitate at all, and nodded directly, same. Immediately afterwards, another armored rhinoceros of the same level of strength was pushed up. Hold head high. The armored rhino rushed straight out, heading straight for Su Mu. And Su Mu took a step back suddenly, gave way, and then shot out. When Iron Rhino went north with sparks, which were caused by the tip of Su Mu's spear, but it didn't do much damage to Iron Rhino. Su Mu also chose to roam like Zhang Zi, harassing with guns from time to time, consuming the blood of the armored rhinoceros. In the eyes of outsiders, Su Mu, like Zhang Zi, is waiting for the armored rhino to take the initiative to expose its weaknesses. But only he himself knows that he is using this opportunity to exercise his fighting awareness and fighting skills. Su Mu has already discovered that even though his current combat power is far superior to Zhang Zi's, his combat skills and awareness are much worse than the opponent's. If Su Mu really wanted to kill him quickly, it wasn't impossible for him to do so. Now, using the Rainstorm Pear Blossom Spear technique, his strength has been increased by 30 times, and his combat power is 1.89 million kilograms, which is close to 1.9 million. Even with the addition of the high-end weapon-leaking blood spear, his combat power has already exceeded 2 million. In the face of absolute power, even if the armored rhinoceros had a strong defense, he could easily kill it. Moreover, the Rainstorm Pear Blossom Spear has been cultivated to the state of transformation by him, which is not just as simple as increasing the combat power by 30 times. After comprehending last night, Su Mu tried the Rainstorm Pear Blossom Spear technique. One spear pierces out, and the tip of the spear turns into a rainstorm covering a large area. It can be used as an area-specific killer move, and can also gather strength at one point. But after entering the transformation realm, this combat technique is different again. that is, when Su Mu stabs out with a spear, many phantoms of spear points emerge like a rainstorm, and he can switch between all phantoms of spear points. That is to say, he can change the reality at any time, which not only makes people unpredictable, but also makes the opponent defenseless. Because the opponent doesn't know that point is where his real gunpoint is. Boom boom boom. A minute later, Su Mu finally spotted the armored rhino's weakness, and shot out, hitting the throat. Boom. The armored rhino fell to the ground, and Su Mu put away his gun and stood up. It can be seen that seeing this result, Wang Yang and Chen Xuan frowned and looked at Li Qingfeng, who had been silent all this time. Li Qingfeng's request is for Su Mu to win the championship, but the strength of the monsters killed by the two is currently equal, and it is obvious that Su Mu spent more time. Does this count as Su Mu's win? Even Chen Xuan and Wang Yang said in a low voice. Lord Hu, Su Mu's strength was only 1.2 million in the test yesterday. It is really not easy to achieve the current results. Hu Yi, give Su Mu a little more time, I believe he can grow up quickly. But hearing this, Li Qingfeng just smiled and said nothing. Both of you are Su Mu elders, but do you think this is his final achievement? Chen Xuan and Wang Yang looked confused. Before they could react, Su Mu actually spoke. I still have another chance to challenge, right? Commander Wang nodded. Yes. All right then, I want to challenge 2 million monsters. As soon as Su Mu said this, the scene immediately went into an uproar. All go, Brother Mu, don't be impulsive. 2 million combat power. Su Mu was stimulated by this little monster. Brother Mu, he didn't take part in the class test, and his results are not included in the ranking. You are still number 1. Many apprentices began to persuade. In their view, Su Mu is taking a risk. Life and death fights along the way of martial arts, not to mention the difference in combat power of hundreds of thousands, even a difference of tens of thousands of combat power may determine life and death. Even Wang Yang and Chen Xuan turned their heads suddenly, and said with livid faces. Su Mu, don't mess around. Are you crazy? 2 million combat power, one mistake is life and death. Even Zhang Zi frowned slightly. If you really think you are stronger than me, you can just challenge a monster with a combat power of 1.78 million, why bother? Su Mu directly jumped from 1.6 million combat power to 2 million, which is too big a span. Zhang Zi's limit is 1.6 million, and if it goes up to 17.8 million, of course he will not be killed by monsters, but it is very difficult to kill. But if it reaches 2 million, even an experienced hunter like Zhang Zi will die. Even Li Qingfeng, who had confidence in Su Mu, frowned. Okay, it's almost enough, the two of you are considered a tie, and the things I promised will remain the same. He also felt that Su Mu was too risky. No one at the scene was optimistic about Su Mu, that is a monster with a strength of 2 million. Didn't Su Mu struggle so hard to kill the 1.6 million armored rhinoceros just now? It took Zhang Zi a few breaths of effort to find the armored rhino's weakness, killing it with one hit. As for Su Mu, it took more than a minute to kill the armored rhino. But now, Zhang Zi has given up on continuing to challenge, but Su Mu is a monster who directly wants to challenge 2 million combat power. But in the face of everyone's persuasion, Su Mu shook his head. Thank you for your concern, I still want to challenge. Seeing Su Mu persist, Li Qingfeng and others frowned. Chen Xuan had no choice but to come directly to the edge of the ring, ready to tear the protective alloy net around the ring to rescue Su Mu at any time. That is a monster with a combat power of 2 million, one mistake, it will really kill Su Mu. But Su Mu insisted, and he couldn't persuade him anymore, he could only hope that Su Mu really had this strength. Immediately afterwards, the staff brought in a monster beast with a combat power of 2 million, a wolf-type monster with long sharp teeth, a saber-toothed wolf. The monster was thrown onto the ring, but the saber-toothed wolf monster was extremely vigilant, circling around Su Mu, and did not attack directly. At this moment, Su Mu's energy and blood surged, and he turned the spear in his hand slightly, and the next second he stabbed it out. Ah! At the same time that Su Mu shot out, the saber-toothed wolf howled and moved instantly. What's weird is that it doesn't attack Su Mu, but dodges. This wolf demon was smarter than the previous monsters, and he took a defensive position as soon as he came up, trying to consume Su Mu's blood and wait for an opportunity to counterattack. Everyone at the scene was stunned. But in the next second, As Su Mu stabbed out with a spear, countless phantoms of the spear points appeared, directly blocking all the escape routes of the wolf monster. These phantoms seem to be virtual and real, and it is impossible to tell which one is real. Rainstorm Pear Blossom Gun. Seeing these phantoms transforming into illusions, Dutong Chen Xuan immediately exclaimed. This marksmanship combat skill is exactly what he rewarded Su Mu yesterday. But now, seeing Su Mu cast it, there are countless phantoms. It is not just as simple as comprehending success. Countless phantoms can be pierced with a single shot, just like a sudden rainstorm. This is a situation that can only appear when you reach a high level of success. Under normal circumstances, the basics of this combat skill, called Rainstorm Pear Blossom, actually cover a small area, and there are very few phantoms. And as the level of comprehension increases, this phantom will gradually expand. But looking at Su Mu's spear, there is more than a small area. The entire arena is completely covered. The most important thing is 140. Even he, a strong man at the level of Marquis Wu, can't tell which is the real point of Su Mu's spear. Not to mention him, even Li Qingfang, who was stronger than him, suddenly widened his eyes and took a breath. Li Qingfang, from the time he started working with Su Mu, discovered that Su Mu's talent for practicing combat skills is extremely strong. So he asked Su Mu to compete with his disciple Zhang Zi today, just to force Su Mu to see if he can create a miracle. Obviously, Su Mu not only did not disappoint him, but far exceeded his expectations. This trick of Rainstorm Pear Blossom is at least due to Chengjing. What kind of terrifying talent is needed to comprehend a book of combat skills to great success in one night? He thinks that his talent is excellent, and he can practice combat skills very quickly, but no matter how fast he is, it is impossible to achieve success without practicing combat skills for 10 days and a half months. In one night, if it were him, it would be impossible to even get started. Chen Xuan and Li Qingfang are the strongest on the scene, both of them are Wahou realm. If the two of them are like this, let alone others. But in the next second, seeing that all the dodging routes were blocked, the wolf demon became anxious, roared again, and rushed over suddenly. It can't judge the reality in a hurry, it can only try its luck. If the place he rushes to is false, then it just avoids this blow. If it is true, it can only head to head. In the next second, the saber-toothed wolf demon rushed to a spear point, and saw that the illusory shadow of the spear point was about to dissipate, but in an instant, the phantom turned from virtual to real. Immediately afterwards, all the phantoms of the other spear points dissipated, leaving only this point completely solidified, and Su Mu's figure was also revealed. Boo! The saber-toothed wolf demon didn't have time to react and was stabbed to death. With one move, the eyes of the 2 million wolf demon were completely lost, their vitality was cut off, and they died. Everyone at the scene stared wide-eyed at this terrifying scene. Spike, Su Mu actually killed 2 million saber-toothed wolf monsters with one shot. No one dared to believe it, but they had to believe it, because they witnessed it with their own eyes. The numerous onlookers, as well as the high-level officials of Donghai City, all had the same expression at this moment. Their eyes widened, and their mouths opened into an exaggerated O shape. And Chen Xuan was on the edge of the ring, and even saw Su Mu's combat skills with his own eyes. The tip of the gun turned from virtual to real, instead of condensing all the phantoms into the final blow as he knew. In other words, Su Mu's Rainstorm Pear Blossom Spear is beyond his cognition. What kind of limit is this? And Li Qingfang stretched his neck suddenly at this moment, looking at Su Mu as if he saw a ghost. Environmentalization. In the next second, the two strongest bosses spoke at the same time. Transformation Realm. Only Transformation Realm combat technique can do this, only Transformation Realm can be so miraculous. The transformation between reality and reality is that they, Wahou powerhouses, can't easily do it, because it is not so easy to enter the realm of transformation. But Su Mu does BFFB here. Leaving aside the realm of combat power and so on, just talking about the comprehension of combat power, they feel ashamed in front of Su Mu. Even Zhang Zi, who had been wanting to fight Su Mu in the arena next to him, was stunned at the moment, and then he swallowed a mouthful of saliva. His fighting spirit rose wildly, but he was quickly overwhelmed by him. Su Mu is so strong, he was completely unexpected. But the stronger Su Mu is, the more he wants to defeat Su Mu. Of course, he is not a simple-minded person, and he will not be reckless to challenge Su Mu now, because he has self-knowledge, and now he is not Su Mu's opponent. Zhang Zi even felt a little ridiculous. Just yesterday, the situation was reversed. Even Li Qingfeng said that Su Mu is not his opponent. Only one night passed, completely lost. Now, it's his turn not to be Su Mu's opponent. Zhang Zi took a deep look at Su Mu. His fighting spirit was still on fire, but he cupped his hands at Su Mu. I lost. Su Mu ignored Zhang Zi and drew out his spear. But until Su Mu gently pulled out the tip of the gun, everyone still didn't recover. Su Mu could only cough dryly. Hearing his voice, Commander Wang, who was in charge of the test, came back to his senses and announced Su Mu's results. Su Mu, the result of the strength test, killed 2 million strength division level 9 level monsters. Wow! As soon as these words came out, the scene was like boiling water, and there was an instant uproar. He really did kill 2 million combat power division level monsters. Brother Mu is mighty. It's not just a kill, it's an instant kill. I just said that Brother Mu won't lose to anyone, and that little monster still can't catch up with Brother Mu. There was a lot of discussion. But Chen Xuan and Wang Yang were full of surprises. Su Mu won, and won with such a strong record. Kung Fu, here we go. In the next second, Li Qingfeng also came back to his senses, and nodded to Su Mu. Then Su Mu heard a voice. Remember, I only said it 3 times, the first volume of the Wuji Jing, the refining chapter. Li Qingfeng fulfilled his promise and began to teach Su Mu exercises on the spot. There are 2 heaven-level exercises in the Tang Mansion, and there are no transcripts. The only way to pass them on is by word of mouth. From now on, Yin Mu can be regarded as a formal student of Detang Wufu. He was able to learn one of the 2 heaven-level exercises before entering school, and he was the only one in the entire Detang Mansion, except for the evil genius of the Li family. Even the Li family members, who are not talented enough and not strong enough, will not make an exception to be taught. Su Mu immediately sat down cross-legged on the ring and listened carefully to the contents of the exercises. Since the practice, although the main task is to temper the body, in fact, the martial arts practice has improved the energy and spirit of the whole body. What's more, Su Mu still has the mysterious phantom beast skull in his hand, and his spiritual power is very strong. Therefore, writing down the exercises is not a problem at all. Soon, after Li Qingfeng finished teaching, he asked in a secret voice transmission. Have you written it down? If you haven't written it down, you still have 2 chances, and if you don't remember 3 times, then I'm sorry. But before Li Qingfeng's voice transmission ended, Su Mu nodded, stood up directly, and clasped a fist at Li Qingfeng. Thank you, senior, for passing on the FA. Li Qingfeng's face turned dark immediately. He wanted to hit Su Mu again, but in the end, Su Mu memorized everything. Li Qingfeng tried his best to behave calmly, without showing the slightest look of shock. That would be too embarrassing. He is a dignified Lord Marquis, a dignified Waho-level powerhouse, who can kill the existence of martial venerable realm. How can he be shocked by a kid in the first stage of martial artist? Li Qingfeng took a deep breath. Okay, just remember, I was like this back then. However, when he was talking, Li Qingfeng's old face blushed undetectably. He listened to his father dictate the exercises back then, but he only memorized them after listening to them twice, and later he forgot some of them, so he listened to them a 3rd time. Strictly speaking, he listened to it 3 times. At this moment, Li Qingfeng only thought that if Su Mu forgot a part, and then came to find him, he had to beat Su Mu hard. Then, Li Qingfeng said again, I will write a letter to my junior immediately, and when you pass the training and assessment, he will personally come to pick you up. After finishing speaking, Li Qingfeng reached out and grabbed Zhang Zi, and took Zhang Zi away. He was afraid that he would be shocked by Su Mu again if he stayed here, and then he would not be able to suppress his impulse and forcibly accept Su Mu as his disciple. As soon as Li Qingfeng left, many apprentices, as well as many high-level officials of East Sea City, surrounded Su Mu's arena. Seeing this, Chen Xuan was stunned for a moment, and quickly said loudly, I declare that the Donghai City Hall test is officially over. The first place is Su Mu, 9 forged and 1 level, 58,000 calories of energy and blood, 61,000 kilograms of basic strength, 1.28 million combat power, and a record of killing 2 million kilograms of division level 9th level monsters. Quote. As soon as Chen Xuan opened his mouth, everyone stopped and looked up at Chen Xuan, who was floating in the air. In the next second, everyone shouted, Su Mu mighty. The East Sea is mighty. The mighty Tang dynasty. Everyone was extremely excited because of Su Mu's eye-catching final result, an unprecedented result in the history of Donghai City. The number one person in Donghai City, Su Mu, lives up to his name. Even Li Qingfang, a disciple taught by Master Hu himself, is not as powerful as Su Mu. After a long time, Chen Xuan raised his hand to suppress the shouts of the crowd, and continued. Second place, Mo Lingyun. The third place, Chen Tianxi. After announcing the top three, Chen Xuan continued. Su Mu, meet the training standard of the Datang Martial House, and go to Datang City to participate in the separate training camp of the Datang Martial House in 3 days. Mo Lingyun, Chen Tianxi, Lu Baosai. Those who have more than 10,000 qi and blood will participate in the palace test. Those with 1,000 to 10,000 qi and blood will participate in the selection of the martial pavilion, and those with less than 1,000 will participate in the selection of the martial hall. The official results will be announced on the list tomorrow morning, and it's gone. After saying this, Chen Xuan looked at Su Mu. Su Mu, the rewards for Earth-level combat skills and mysterious-level weapons, the leaking blood spear, have been distributed, and there is still a blood pool left. When are you going to enter? Su Mu looked up and grinned. Now. Now that he has acquired the skills, he can't wait to practice now. Becoming stronger is his only goal at present. Okay, I'll start this matter right away. Wait a few minutes, let me make some preparations. After Chen Xuan finished speaking, he grabbed Su Mu and left the scene with his hand. This is also helping Su Mu. If she didn't take her away, Su Mu might not be able to leave the scene so easily. Haven't you seen many apprentices, including many good-looking female apprentices, who are eager to try at this moment? Of course, Wang Yang followed suit. In the living room of the Dutong mansion, Chen Xuan went to make arrangements for the Qi and Blood pool. The Qi and Blood pond is located in the Dutong mansion, and it was originally a treasure land used by generals and strong men when they broke through. In the past, only meritorious people would be allowed to enter the Qi and Blood pool to practice breakthrough. But in the past 10 years, this blood pool has hardly been used, and the accumulated energy has a great effect even on Marquis Wu. After Chen Xuan left, Wang Yang had a chance to get close to Su Mu. At this moment, Wang Yang is even a little lonely. He didn't expect that this time in the hall test, Su Mu, who was a mere warrior, made him, the city lord, a little unapproachable. Even more so in the future. City master, what's going on here? Seeing Wang Yang's eyes look strange, Su Mu asked. Wang Yang shook his head, restrained his emotions, then turned his hand, and a storage ring appeared in his hand. This is a storage ring. It is better than the one in your hand and can hold more things. You can refine it. Su Mu nodded and took it. Wang Yang continued. There are 10 bottles of quenching pills in the storage ring. Su Mu's eyes lit up all of a sudden. Wang Yang continued to settle accounts with black lines all over his face. The reward I promised you at the beginning, the first place in Donghai City will reward 100 million, and every 100 cards of blood value will be 1 million, and you are 58,000. The total is 580 million. The 200 million you transferred to me to buy the elixir, a total of 1 billion. Wang Yang calculated the accounts clearly. Su Mu didn't care anymore, and waved her hand casually. Never mind, I can trust you. Wang Yang's face turned darker. He was sure that if he didn't know so clearly, Su Mu would definitely break up with him again. At this point, Su Mu's trip to the hall is over, and he not only won the number 1 scholar in Donghai City, but also gained a lot of wealth. I got 32 bottles of body tempering pill from Chen Xuan before, now there are 10 bottles, a total of 42 bottles, worth 4.2 billion. 10 days ago, he was still poor, let alone 4.2 billion, even 420,000. But in the blink of an eye, money was already a number to him. After entering the Great Tang Martial Palace, the money is even more useless. A random body tempering pill is worth 10 million, and a bottle is worth 100 million, and it is not easy to buy with money. That's why Su Mu transferred his 200 million yuan to Wang Yang, asking him to use his connections to help buy it. 42 bottles of body-quenching pills, a total of 420 pills, plus the pool of qi and blood, is enough for Su Mu to practice hard for a while. Su Mu mentally calculated the next plan, and first stayed in the qi and blood pool for 3 days. Even if he practiced, it didn't take that long. Then, go to participate in the training camp organized by the Datang Martial House alone, and enter the Datang Martial House. While Su Mu was thinking about it, Wang Yang's expression fell down again. Su Mu, I'm leaving, I'm taking them away. Su Mu nodded and bowed respectfully to Wang Yang. Master, thank you very much. The two of them didn't get along for a long time, but Su Mu was still very grateful to Wang Yang. Because of Wang Yang's full support, Su Mu's test in Donghai City can go so smoothly. Even without Wang Yang's support time and time again, Su Mu's becoming stronger would not have been so smooth. Wang Yang nodded, opened his mouth several times to say something, and finally shook his head, turning it into a sentence, "Come back often." After speaking, Wang Yang turned around and left, but the moment he turned around, his eye sockets became moist. Wang Yang was very emotional. Su Mu, if his wings are hardened, he will definitely be able to soar into the sky in the future, and then he, a little city lord, may not be able to catch Su Mu's eyes. Seeing Wang Yang leaving, Su Mu was filled with emotions, and also didn't know what to say, and finally turned it into one sentence. Will do. After Wang Yang walked for a while, Chen Xuan returned to the living room. Seeing Wang Yang leave, he asked, "The old king is gone." Su Mu still looked in the direction of the gate, subconsciously nodded. "Don't worry, I will take care of Donglai City." After Chen Xuan said something, Su Mu turned around and bowed to Chen Xuan. "Thank you, Lord Dutong." Chen Xuan, as the governor of Donghai City, has his words more than anyone else's promise. "Let's go, the blood pool is ready." With that said, Chen Xuan led the way, and the two of 953 walked towards the backyard of the Dutong mansion. The backyard, a separate small courtyard, was heavily guarded. When Su Mu and Chen Xuan entered it, Su Mu immediately felt a strong energy of qi and blood. After walking a few steps, Su Mu saw a blood-red light door flickering. This is the entrance of the blood pool. The blood pool is actually a small secret realm. When it was first discovered, there was also a monster called the blood monster. This monster is quite unique, and it specializes in sucking the blood of other races to become stronger. Entering the courtyard and coming to the Guangmen, Chen Xuan introduced the origin of the qi and blood pool to Su Mu. In the end, this secret realm was breached by Lord Hu Li Qingfang, and the blood demon was almost wiped out. In the end, the blood of the blood demon gathered into a blood pool. This is the original origin of the blood pool. Later, in order to study the essence and blood of monsters and their skills and cultivation system, the Datang Palace sent many experts and researchers to enter. Body-quenching pill, Shishui pill, many kinds of pills were born from this secret realm. Later, the value of this secret realm was no longer great, but also because of the existence of the blood goblin blood in this secret realm, which can draw the vitality and blood energy of other races, and can be preserved and accumulated, so this place has become a special place for refining the 3 realms of cultivation. Treasure Land. While talking, the two of them had come to stand in front of the Guangmen, and Commander Wang, the commander of the Donghai City Guards, was also waiting here. When he arrived in front of Guangmen, Chen Xuan exhorted with a serious face. "Hurry up and practice after entering, but the qi and blood in this qi and blood pool are mixed, and there may even be a large number of fragments of the blood demon's consciousness in the qi and blood. Once you find that your body is unwell, such as uncontrolled qi and blood, dizziness, brain bloating, and mental confusion, stop practicing immediately and come out. With Commander Wang and I here, we can help you regain consciousness." Hearing this, Su Mu also nodded seriously. "Okay. Also, although Master Hu has already taught you the exercises, you still have a lot of knowledge that you don't understand. You can come out and ask me, or Commander Wang, at any time. I will stay here for 3 days." Chen Xuan continued to exhort. Su Mu cupped his fists at Chen Xuan respectfully. "Thank you, Mr. Dutong. Go, practice hard, you are the pride of my Donghai City. I hope you will have a breakthrough in your realm when you come out of the qi and blood pool this time." Chen Xuan waved his hand, and a token appeared in his hand. He pointed at the light gate, and the light gate flickered and opened directly. The light door opened, and strong qi and blood energy emanated from the entrance. Su Mu's eyes moved slightly, and in the next second, he took a step forward and stepped directly into the light gate. As soon as Su Mu left, Chen Xuan and Commander Wang looked at each other and began to discuss in a low voice. How much will he get this time? I can't guess, this little guy is full of mystery, I dare not say it. How long can he stay? One day, I broke through to the military commander level and stayed there for 1 day. That's 1 day. How about half a day? Ahem, Lord Dutong, how long did Dao stay there for the first time? Oh, 1 day. Real, wow, a full day. The two were talking, as if they had returned to their youth. This qi and blood pool secret realm is rich in energy, but it is also very dangerous. The danger comes from the impurities mixed in the qi and blood, and it may even be the remaining fragments of spiritual consciousness. Those with good talent can stay for a day, and those with poor talent can't stand it even for a few minutes. Some people forcefully supported it, but in the end they were invaded by mixed consciousness, and finally became insane and completely useless. At the same time, when Su Mu stepped into the light gate, his eyes darkened and then brightened again. As the light and darkness changed, he found himself in a space. There is a sky looking up, but it is a strange gray color, and there is ground under the feet, but it is bare and does not see any vegetation. If it weren't for the strong smell of blood coming from his nostrils, he would have suspected that this was a place of death. Where could it be a secret realm where alien monsters once existed? Just looking around, he found that this space is not very big, maybe the size of a football field, but there is also a small mountain range, and there is a pool under the mountain range. The water in the pool is completely blood red and viscous, so it goes without saying that it is the blood pool. Su Mu was not busy exploring this secret realm, but walked directly to the qi and blood pool. The rich qi and blood energy radiated from the pool, and Su Mu's eyes brightened. Qi and blood pool, plus the 420 body tempering pills in my hand, how many levels can I break through this time? Su Mu is looking forward to it very much. Since the last time he was promoted to the 9th tempering, he has been relying on training combat skills to improve his combat power, but his basic vitality and strength have not improved much. Now, the opportunity has come, the skills are available, and the resources are also available. Soon, Su Mu adjusted his state, and went through the exercise, Wuji Jing, Volume 1, refining chapter that he had just memorized in his mind again. According to the Wuji Jing, the first 3 levels of martial arts, that is, warriors, and generals, are called the 3 realms of refining. The warrior's body is tempered, the warrior's blood is coagulated, and the general's body is cast into gold. These 3 major realms, all the main tasks are to strengthen the physical body. So it is called the 3 realms of refinement. And the Wuji Jing, he got only has these 3 levels of cultivation methods, and the follow-up methods can only be obtained by going to the Wufu of the Tang dynasty. But this is enough, he is only a mere first-level martial artist now. After getting familiar with the exercises, Su Mu also knew the warrior's next tasks from the 2nd to the 9th level. The warrior stage is divided into 9 levels, and all tasks are 1.7 body training. The first step is to temper the skin, the second step is to temper the meat, the third step is to temper the tendons, the fourth step is to temper the bones, the fifth step is to quench the blood, the sixth step is to quench the 5 internal organs, the seventh step is to quench the 6 internal organs, the eighth step is to quench the bone marrow, and the ninth step is to quench the 5 internal organs. Refresh your brain. It seems that there are strict distinctions between the cultivation tasks of different realms, but in fact the Wuji Jing also clearly pointed out that it only focuses on a part of the tempering, and each tempering is actually the whole body being tempered. There is even a way to divide realms, that is, not by parts, but only by progress. And Su Mu is obviously based on the first classification method. He is in the first stage of the warrior, and his focus is on tempering the skin. Of course, in fact, other parts have also been tempered. Therefore, for warriors to practice, the first level is actually the hardest. After the first foundation is laid, it will be easier later on. After sorting out the main points of the next practice in her mind, Su Mu took a step forward and stepped into the qi and blood pool. As soon as Su Mu stepped into the qi and blood pool, he felt the surging qi and blood energy sweeping in. He didn't need to absorb it, and his whole body was already enveloped by these qi and blood energies. Moreover, these energies are not docile, on the contrary, they are somewhat violent, constantly washing over his body, as if they are about to forcefully penetrate. Su Mu also understood why Chen Xuan, the former governor, would seriously advise him. Practicing here, there is indeed no shortage of energy, but it is also very dangerous. If you can't guard your mind and control the movement of qi and blood energy, it is easy to be assimilated by this qi and blood pool, and it is even possible to become the energy in the qi and blood pool. In the next second, a progress bar automatically appeared in front of Su Mu. Muscle tempering progress 0.01%. Su Mu clicked fast forward without hesitation. In the previous few practice sessions, his highest record was to fast forward 120,000 times. Su Mu is ready to challenge a higher fast forward multiple this time. Under Su Mu's continuous clicks, the fast forward multiple instantly reached 120,000 times. At this multiple, Su Mu has been completely overwhelmed by qi and blood energy. Every pore of him seems to be open, all of them are crazily absorbing qi and blood energy. But Su Mu still didn't stop. 240,000 times, 480,000 times, 960,000 times. When Su Mu increased the fast-forward multiplier to 1.92 million times, there was a loud vibration in this mysterious place. The ground shook and the mountains shook, like an earthquake. The qi and blood pool surged with qi and blood. But Su Mu didn't move like a mountain. He opened his eyes suspiciously to feel it, and had no choice but to stop the thought of continuing to click to fast forward. He was afraid that if he went on any faster, the secret realm would collapse. Fast forward 1.92 million times, the effect is also very terrifying. The huge energy and blood entered the body, and it turned into Su Mu's cultivation level in an instant, and the body was continuously tempered. Su Mu could even feel that his body was getting stronger all the time, and his muscles were constantly numb, as if an invisible big hand was transforming his muscles. Boom! In just a blink of an eye, the muscles were tempered for the first time. Immediately afterwards, roaring sounds continued to emanate from Su Mu's body, the third, fourth, fifth time. In the blink of an eye, the 9 tempering sessions ended. Su Mu has finally broken through the second level of warriors and achieved success. Seeing this, he quickly stood up and forcibly stopped practicing. There are still a lot of resources, but he can't bear it anymore. Too much fast forward, too fast, so fast that his own consciousness can't keep up with the growth of strength. Su Mu stood up helplessly, jumped out of the qi and blood pool, and ran wildly in this secret realm. With a spear in hand, he unleashed the rainstorm pear blossom. Hoo hoo! The spear brought a terrifying wind and swept across the entire secret space. After a few breaths, Su Mu came to the top of the hill in the secret realm, and the energy and blood in his body surged, even distorting the surrounding air. He held a long gun in his hand and was full of vigor. At the second stage of the warrior, the blood has doubled at this moment, a full 120,000. As for the combat strength, he had sensed it just now when he used the heavy rain pear blossom, at least 3.7 million kilograms. The soaring strength made Su Mu's energy reach the peak. At this moment, Su Mu stopped wielding the spear, but his muscles still squirmed rhythmically, and even he could hear the sound, like the ebb and flow of the tide, like the turbulent waves of the sea. Is this the effect of 9 muscle exercises? Su Mu is very satisfied with the changes in his body, not only the strengthening of qi and blood, but also the skyrocketing of his strength. At this moment, Su Mu can see the muscle lines all over her body. They are completely natural and extremely graceful. In the next second, Su Mu made a vertical leap, and the spear moved again. He was not in a hurry to continue practicing, but continued to wave his spear on the mountain top, familiar with the growth of blood and the skyrocketing strength. At the same time, the outside world, the entrance to the secret realm. Chen Xuan and Wang Tongling, who were discussing Su Mu, stared wide-eyed. Just when Su Mu fast-forwarded to 1.92 million times, the light door at the entrance began to flicker violently. The two thought that Su Mu couldn't hold on any longer, but in the next second, a crack appeared indistinctly in the light gate. Although the crack disappeared soon, Su Mu still didn't come out. Both of them were dumbfounded. What happened? He didn't come out. Do you want to go in and have a look? In the end, Chen Xuan shook his head. he knows what he knows, so don't bother him. Both of them took a deep breath in shock. The light gate flickered, and even cracks appeared. Although it finally returned to calm, it all showed that there were not small changes in the secret realm. But what exactly, they have no way of knowing. It can only be judged from some clues. Chen Xuan said, I'm here to guard, you go to check the information and see if there are any relevant records. Anyway, since Chen Xuan came to Donghai City as the capital, he has never encountered such an abnormal situation in the Guangmin of this blood secret realm. Commander Wang nodded and left instantly. But at this moment, Su Mu calmed down in the secret territory of Qi and blood, and he had gradually adapted to the soaring Qi and blood and combat power. If he continued to improve like this crazily, he was worried that he would lose control of his own strength. If that's the case, it's really a joke. He will become the first martial artist whose strength grows too fast and his consciousness can't keep up. Su Mu doesn't know what will happen when his cultivation gets out of control, but it must be something bad. Therefore, Su Mu decided to rest and adjust every time he breaks through a realm, to adapt to the skyrocketing energy and experience. Immediately afterwards, Su Mu stepped into the blood pool again. This time, Su Mu did not dare to blindly challenge a higher fast-forward multiple. In fact, tens of thousands of times, the speed is already amazing, there is no need to blindly pursue the fast-forward multiple of 200 eyes. The speed was so fast that he couldn't even keep up, so it didn't make much sense. Immediately afterwards, the second training session began, and Su Mu fast-forwarded again, and finally fast-forwarded her to stop at 240,000 times. Even so, the speed is still incredibly fast. The third level of warriors is to temper the tendons. Su Mu can complete one tempering almost in one breath under the fast-forward of 240,000 times. His body still kept roaring, the tendons in his body were getting stronger and stronger, and his qi and blood were also surging all the time. In just 9 breaths, Su Mu jumped out of the blood pool again. As soon as he clenched his fist, the muscles and veins all over his body stretched. Although he couldn't see clearly inside, he could intuitively feel that the muscles and veins were countless times stronger than before. Sensing carefully, he could even feel the roar of his muscles and veins like thunder when he clenched his fist. Boom! He punched out, and the air seemed to explode. Immediately afterwards, Su Mu ran wildly again, and the spear in his hand danced again. He rushed towards the nearby hill like a ray of light, and the next second, he shot directly on the boulder on the top of the mountain. Boom! There was a terrifying explosion, and the boulder was completely reduced to dust. 180,000 calories of blood, 5.5 million kilograms of combat power. This is just Su Mu's preliminary estimate, the real combat power is only more than this figure, not less. At this moment, he has completed the triple realm of warriors. And it's the 9-forged triple layer. Chapter 51. In the secret realm, Su Mu kept bombarding the rocks, familiar with the soaring blood and strength. It's just a short time, the hill in the secret territory suddenly became shorter, that's because almost all the boulders on the top of the hill were pulverized by Su Mu. Then, Su Mu returned to Qi and blood pool again, still sat cross-legged, and started fast-forwarding again. Boom! The familiar scene was staged again, it was still 240,000 times, and it was still like an endless surge of energy and blood. Su Mu was submerged in qi and blood energy, a large amount of qi and blood poured into his body, and in the fast-forward mode, it was quickly transformed into energy for tempering bones. His bones are changing all the time. The fourth realm of warriors, tempering bones. All the bones in the whole body are like rain after a long drought, and they are rapidly absorbing energy eagerly and continuously tempering. This time Su Mu still had the same 320,000 times fast-forward speed, but the tempering speed was slightly slower than before. After 15 full breaths, Su Mu's body continued to roar, and finally he stood up and stopped practicing again. The 9 times of tempering of the bones are complete. Realm, the martial artist's 4 realms are complete. Just standing up and moving his bones slightly, Su Mu actually heard bursts of pleasant jingling sounds coming from his body. With the clanking of bones, Su Mu drew out his spear again, familiar with the soaring blood and combat power. After getting acquainted with it, Su Mu raised her head with a spear in her hand, and her eyes were full of brilliance, 240,000 calories of blood and combat power. 7.4 million. This is an extremely terrifying number. In Donglai City, he fought against the owner of the pavilion, Zhao Qinghe, and Su Mu once asked Zhao Qinghe about his blood strength. Zhao Qinghe answered 9 million calories. Such horrific data makes people despair. But now, Su Mu's blood is as high as 240,000 calories. But now Su Mu is still just a warrior, and his blood value is already hundreds of thousands, not far from a million. To really reach the martial master realm, because of the solid foundation, it is just a breeze to surpass Zhao Qinghe's 9 million cards of energy and blood. And what Su Mu didn't know was that Zhao Qinghe's so-called 9 million was not at all blood strength, but combat power. His combat power is 9 million kilograms, and with the tenfold increase in combat skills, his own strength is 900,000 kilograms, and the strength of his blood is only more than 80 square meters and less than 90 square cards. The reason why Zhao Qinghe said that was naturally for the sake of face. Doesn't he want face as a majestic martial artist? His talent is mediocre, the warrior realm is only tempered, and the warrior 9th level realm's blood is only 1,000. Zhao Qinghe's strength improved by leaps and bounds only after he forcibly grinded to the martial artist level. But because of the weak foundation, a drop of essence and blood of others may increase 10,000 calories of blood, but he only increased 1,000 calories. Therefore, Zhao Qinghe lied, and he thought it would be a little higher, so he didn't look too ugly. But Zhao Qinghe probably didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, Su Mu's chi and blood strength had almost reached the strength of this martial artist's 9th level, and his combat power was not far behind. Maybe, after going out from the secret realm this time and meeting Zhao Qinghe again, Su Mu can easily defeat him. Su Mu completed the 4th level of training, and after adapting to the combat power and blood, he returned to the chi and blood pool again, only to find that the chi and blood pool had turned light red. Su Mu frowned suddenly. It also said that the energy of this blood pool is endless. He is complaining here. If Chen Xuan hears it, Chen Xuan may have to go berserk. Ordinary people have his abnormal cultivation speed. With so much chi and blood energy, it is enough for others to complete the cultivation of warrior realm. But Su Mu is different. He is 9-tempered, each part of tempering needs to be completed 9 times, and each time consumes more. In fact, because of the existence of fast forward, his consumption is already very small, because there is almost no wasted energy. No way. After complaining for a while, Su Mu had no choice but to sit down cross-legged and start refining the storage ring left by Wang Yang. He had to take out all the elixirs. Not long after, the storage ring was tempered, and Su Mu took out all 42 bottles of quenching pills, and then entered the chi and blood pool again. The energy in the blood pool is not enough, and he still has pills. In short, this time, he will use up all the resources to improve himself as much as possible. At the entrance of Qi and Blood Labyrinth, Commander Wang returned after searching for information. I found it. There is only one record. The general of the Wu Wei army came here once. He just tried to absorb the energy of the Qi and blood pool to practice, and the result caused the secret realm to vibrate. Hearing this, Chen Xuan frowned fiercely. That is to say, when the tolerance limit of the secret realm is exceeded, the light gate will flicker or even crack. The two looked at each other in shock. Su Mu, a warrior realm, can make the secret realm unbearable. What are you kidding? Even if they found some information, they still couldn't give a good and reasonable explanation for the sudden change in Guangmen. There is no solution to this problem. But in the next second, Chen Xuan glanced at Guangmen subconsciously, and was stunned at this sight, and he frowned. There seems to be something wrong with the light gate. Commander Wang also glanced at the Guangmen, but shook his head. No, there is no flicker or crack, and the daily cut is normal. Chen Xuan waved his hand. No, it's the color. After such a reminder, Commander Wang looked at Guangmen again. Really, it seems that the color is fading. What's the situation? The light gate of the Qi and Blood secret realm was built by Li Qingfang, who conquered the secret realm at the beginning, and created a formation to keep the entrance of the secret realm from disappearing. Since the formation of the light gate, the reflective light gate has always been blood red. But now, the light gate has actually faded, turning into a light red, and it is obviously still fading. The two were completely dumbfounded. The two of them looked like they had seen a ghost. First, the light door flickered and cracks appeared, although it disappeared in the end. Then, now the light gate color started to fade again. And they have never encountered these before, but now it's just that Su Mu went in, and so many moths came out. While the two were in a daze, Wang Tong took out a bunch of materials. He brought a lot of records about this secret realm of qi and blood directly from the library. At the scene, he began to flip through it. Not long after, Commander Wang's eyes lit up. I found it. It is recorded in this document that after the researcher withdrew that year, several military generals and strong men entered to practice, which eventually led to the energy exhaustion of the qi and blood pool good lees and the color of the light gate faded. As soon as these words came out, the two were stunned again. Chen Xuan took a breath, and subconsciously blurted out, "Impossible." Commander Wang also widened his eyes. It was Su Mu who drained the energy of the blood pool. How could it be? This secret place of qi and blood has been handed over to Donghai City since it was no longer studied, and it has become a treasure land in Donghai City for warriors to practice. Of course, not everyone can enter. And in the past 10 years or so, few people have entered it. The blood energy inside has been accumulated for 10 years, can it be sucked away by Su Mu, a martial artist? They couldn't believe it anyway. But the facts were right in front of them, but they couldn't help but not believe it. Otherwise, is there any reason to explain the light gate's color fading? Then, both of them began to actively find excuses. Could it be that the consumption of 9 refinements is really so terrifying? Master Hu once said that it is very difficult for ordinary people to reach the 9 refinements. Is it also related to resources? In the qi and blood secret territory, as Su Mu continued to practice, the energy in the qi and blood pool was really decreasing rapidly. The qi and blood pool is no longer viscous, and the color is constantly fading. This is also the result of Su Mu absorbing the energy from the qi and blood pool while swallowing the body-tempering pill. Otherwise, the energy in the blood pool would have been exhausted long ago. What Su Mu swallowed was body-tempering pill, which was a pill, not a pill or powder, and the medicine was very powerful. After more than 20 breaths, Su Mu opened his eyes and stood up again. Crash! He listened intently, and unexpectedly heard roars all over his body. This is the blood flowing, the blood that has just been tempered. The 5th level of martial artist is to temper blood. The previous bones were tempered and clanked. Now that the blood has been tempered, a strange sound can be heard. Su Mu frowned, and then he saw that the qi and blood pool had completely turned into clear water, and there was no more energy to speak of. This is gone. I have accumulated 10 years. Su Mu complained contemptuously, then got up, and continued to start his great career of getting familiar with and adapting to strength, soaring qi and blood. On the top of the hill in the secret realm, as Su Mu waved his spear, soon the top of the mountain was completely bald. Up to now, Su Mu can cause huge destructive power with a single swing at will. When Rainstorm Pear Blossom Gun was deployed, its power was much stronger. After a few breaths, Su Mu stood still, pointing his spear obliquely at the ground. Su Mu murmured, "Warrior level 5, 300,000 calories of blood, and more than 9 million kilograms of combat history. Warrior level, the combat strength should not exceed 10 million, unless Tianzhao is evil, that is to say, I now officially have the combat strength of the martial artist level." Su Mu was all smiles. He finally had a little bit of self-preservation. Martial masters at the 9th level, the weak ones have only 1 million combat power, and the strong ones have no more than 9 million tens of millions of combat power. Of course, it refers to ordinary people, except for evil geniuses who have been tempered many times. But how long has passed? In more than 10 days, he has gone from a wastewood with less than 100 cards of vitality and almost no combat power to where he is today. But this is just the beginning. Next, he still has a wider space and a bigger stage waiting for him to display. No, the 5th level is not the current limit. In the next second, Su Mu became full of energy, and instead of going to the qi and blood pool, he sat down cross-legged on the top of the mountain, and placed the remaining 30 bottles of pills in front of him. Next, the energy in the blood pool was gone, and he could only rely on the power of the pill. He also really wanted to rush out and let Chen Xuan replenish the energy of the blood pool, but that was unrealistic. BFFG, if he really went, Chen Xuan would definitely be scared to collapse. In less than a day, Su Mu broke through 4 realms in a row, reached the 5th level of warrior realm, and his combat power increased countless times. What is this concept? Any adjective such as evildoer and Tianjiao can't describe it. It is obvious that there is something wrong with Su Mu. Therefore, even if he sleeps in the secret realm later, he will have to stay for 3 full days. For 3 days, there was a blood pool and a large number of pills. Although it was exaggerated enough in the end, it would not make people completely treat Su Mu as a monster for slice research. Then, Su Mu started 12 times fast forward, swallowed the elixir and continued to temper his body. The 6th level is the 5 internal organs. That is, the heart, liver, spleen, lungs and kidneys. This time, Su Mu didn't dare to fast forward too much. On the one hand, it was because of the lack of energy in the qi and blood pool. On the other hand, the more important reason was that the internal organs are the most important part of the human body, so Su Mu couldn't help but be careless. So he didn't dare to go too fast. As the potency of the elixir melted in the body, Su Mu could feel that the 5 internal organs in the body were quickly tempered. Before practicing in the qi and blood pool, all the impurities were washed away as soon as they were leached out. Now that he is not soaking in the pool, Su Mu can actually see the impurities being excreted from his body. This time it took even longer, nearly 3 minutes before Su Mu stopped practicing. 5 internal organs tempering progress, 790%. He didn't stop because the internal organs were completely tempered, but because the elixir was gone. 30 bottles of pills, with a total value of 3 billion, totaled more than 300 pills, and they were all consumed in a blink of an eye. But the 6th level of tempering the 5 internal organs has not been completely completed, but only completed 7 times. The 8th time is not completely finished. Su Mu stood up again, swung her spear, and directly shot towards the top of the mountain below her feet. Rumble. There was a terrifying roar, and the boulder on the top of the mountain was shattered directly, and the terrifying power continued to destroy the top of the mountain, and there was a faint crack from top to bottom on the top of the mountain. Opening mountains and cracking rocks, he really did this step. In the past, I just listened to the old people talking about it, but now I did it with my own hands. And Su Mu's eyes flickered constantly. There are about 350,000 cards of vitality and blood, and the combat power exceeds 10 million. This is his final estimate of his combat power. How long has it been since he came in, and his strength has already been turned upside down. From tens of thousands of qi and blood before, to hundreds of thousands of qi and blood now. From the previous millions of combat power to the current tens of millions of combat power. These are all completed in a short period of time. The power of fast forward is terrifying. Of course, if he has enough energy, he can go even faster. Then, Su Mu continued to familiarize himself with his blood and combat power. But at this moment, at the entrance of the light gate, looking at the light gate that has completely become transparent, Chen Xuan and Commander Wang are completely stunned. They watched helplessly as the light gate faded little by little, and finally became completely transparent. Although this time the light door did not flicker, there was no crack, and there was no sign of collapse, but it made the two of them even more confused. Because if their previous guess is true, it means that the blood energy in the secret territory has been exhausted at this moment. They couldn't imagine that Su Mu, a warrior with a first stage, could actually suck up the vitality of a secret realm. Not to mention how Su Mu did it. With so much energy, what realm has Su Mu reached? Of course, Su Mu is 9 refinement, and if each weight is tempered to 9 refinement, the energy required will definitely not be low. But how can I say that is the energy accumulated for 10 years? Chen Xuan didn't dare to think about it anymore. While Chen Xuan was still in a daze, Commander Wang next to him asked weakly. Want to go in and have a look? Now, to determine what is going on, the only way to know is to go in. But Chen Xuan didn't even think about it, he just shook his head. No, martial artist practice is most taboo to be disturbed by others, who hasn't revealed their own secrets, especially things like cultivation, which are the most secretive. No matter how curious Chen Xuan was, he had to resist the urge to find out. Wait until he comes out. In the secret realm, Su Mu didn't stay idle after getting familiar with his soaring strength. He went around the secret realm and even searched carefully. What if some treasure is not found? But it turned out that he was thinking too much. After this secret realm was conquered, I don't know how many people have been there, and where will there be any treasures left? Speaking of treasure, that is, the remaining chi and blood pond. There are a lot of blood goblins left in it. As long as you put in the corpses of monsters, you can continue to accumulate blood and energy. This is the only treasure. Other than that, it was already empty. But when he thought of this, Su Mu was suddenly taken aback. Treasure, the origin of blood goblin blood. In the next second, he turned his head abruptly and looked at the blood pool that had become transparent. Su Mu looked towards the chi and blood pool. In the chi and blood pool at this moment, the chi and blood energy has been exhausted, but the liquid is still there, but it has become clear water. But occasionally there are one or two groups of very tiny things floating in the clear water. At first, Su Mu thought it was an impurity and didn't pay much attention to it. But now, when he thinks about the origin of the blood pool, he doesn't see it that way. This chi and blood pool was initially caused by the killing of a large number of blood demons, and the blood of the blood demons, even the essence blood, was mixed in this pool. Before Su Mu came in, Chen Xuan also reminded that the energy in the blood pool may contain blood essence and blood origin of the blood demon or even fragments of spiritual consciousness. So, Su Mu is thinking now, those floating dust-like things, which are not easy to detect even with the naked eye, could they be the remnants of the blood demon's consciousness? Because the chi and blood energy has been exhausted now, if there are fragments of spiritual consciousness left, where is his carrier? The more Su Mu thought about it, the more definitely something was wrong. She went directly to the edge of the chi and blood pool and reached out to grab a handful, but found nothing. It is also very simple to verify the guess. Su Mu grinned. It's fine anyway, it's only been a day, and he can't go out, so he just tried it. Then, he jumped directly into the chi and blood pool with a plop, and then he closed his eyes and began to feel with his heart the very tiny group of fragments floating around him. Before refining the storage ring, the progress bar appeared only after he realized it, as did the phantom beast skull. He didn't know the name of that thing until the progress bar appeared. In the next second, when Su Mu was immersed in his mind, a progress bar appeared in front of his eyes. The progress of refining blood demon spirit fragments, 0.00000001%. Su Mu frowned. There's drama. Immediately afterwards, he clicked fast forward without hesitation to speed up the refining process. As he clicked to fast forward, the refining speed increased sharply, and the progress bar began to jump. In the blink of an eye, he increased the fast forward to 240,000 times. The progress also reached 80 or 90% in the blink of an eye. Just when he was about to complete refining, Su Mu felt dizzy, and the symptoms of excessive consumption of consciousness reappeared. Fortunately, before Su Mu forcibly stopped refining, the progress reached 100%. At this moment, Su Mu only felt the discomfort in his head disappear instantly, replaced by a sense of coolness. Su Mu was surprised. The mental power seems to have become stronger. Of course, it is not obvious that it has become stronger. If it weren't for his previous experience of using the phantom beast skull to improve his mental power, he wouldn't even feel that his mental power has improved now. Nice one. Su Mu laughed in surprise. Improve mental power. Anyway, he has never heard of anyone who can improve spiritual power in the warrior realm. Warriors pay attention to the completeness of spirit, energy and spiritual power is naturally the foundation of a warrior's strength, and the benefits of improving mental power are self-evident. Of course, he only refined a small amount of fragments, and his mental strength was very little improved. But it can't help that there are so many small fragments in this chi and blood pool. Su Mu no longer hesitated, and continued to refine. Su Mu still can't refine the phantom beast skull, the reason is that he doesn't have enough mental power. Now, he had finally encountered an opportunity to improve his mental power, how could he let it go? Time passed quickly, and a day passed in a blink of an eye, and Su Mu was still soaking in the chi and blood pool to refine the fragments. With infinite fast forward, Su Mu's refining speed is very fast, but the fragments are too small. Su Mu has to be very careful when finding these fragments, otherwise he won't know where he went soon. Therefore, the speed of Su Mu's refining cannot be increased. But even so, within a day, Su Mu's mental strength has improved a lot. He doesn't know exactly how many, but it can be roughly estimated. If his spirit was 0.01 Hz before, he may have reached 0.1 Hz now. If you continue, you can improve further. The benefits of stronger mental power have also begun to appear, and now it is easier and easier for him to capture those tiny fragments. Even because of the strengthening of his mental strength, his perception of the surroundings has become more and more acute. Another day passed, and it was the third day when Su Mu came in. Su Mu had soaked in the qi and blood pool for 2 full days. As he kept moving, he almost refined all the fragments that could be refined in the qi and blood pool. It's almost melted. Up to now, Su Mu estimated that his mental power is Hertz. He has no basic knowledge about spiritual power cultivation, and the unit that can know spiritual power is only mentioned by the owner once when he was learning the basic knowledge of martial arts. But he knew that even if it was only 1 Hertz of mental power, it was still very powerful. 1 He, according to the owner of the hall, Zhao Qinghe, means that the spiritual power, that is, the spiritual consciousness, has been successfully condensed. As long as he has the corresponding exercises, he can locate the Niwen Palace. In short, he spent so long refining these fragments, it was not in vain. There are many benefits to mental power becoming stronger. But just when Su Mu was about to stand up and leave the blood pool, he was stunned again. At this moment, a progress bar appeared in front of his eyes again. Comprehend supernatural power blood-sucking progress. 0.000001%. Su Mu's eyes widened suddenly. Supernatural power. He himself has been blinded. Supernatural powers, where did the supernatural powers come from? He doesn't have any supernatural power. Jade slips in hand, how could it trigger the progress of comprehending supernatural powers? But in the next second, he came back to his senses. Could it be because of the fragments of the blood demon consciousness? That's right. The characteristic of the blood demon is that it can absorb the blood energy of other races. Isn't this blood-sucking? Su Mu grinned, sat down cross-legged, and started clicking the fast-forward button. Under the fast-forward of 120,000 times, the comprehension progress has increased at an extremely fast speed, and it has increased to 10% in the blink of an eye, and then 2%. Finally, when it reached 30%, Su Mu had to stop. Because he actually felt that his mental power was about to be exhausted, and the familiar feeling of dizziness struck again. It's a pity, I didn't realize it all at once. Su Mu sighed with emotion, but fortunately he found out, as long as he continues to approach the blood pool and find the remaining fragments, the progress bar will still appear. If you have enough spiritual power, you can fully comprehend it. Then, Su Mu took out the phantom beast skull from the storage ring, and quickly recovered her mental power. Not long after, the mental power was completely recovered, and Su Mu frowned slightly. If the phantom beast skull can be refined, will it further enhance the spiritual power? He tried it before, but because of lack of mental power, he couldn't refine the skull of the phantom beast. Now, his mental power has become much stronger, and he can try again. In the next second, Su Mu started to try, fast-forwarded by a factor of 480,000, and the progress reached 100% soon. The phantom beast skull was finally refined. But without waiting for Su Mu to be surprised, he only felt a tingle on his brow, and the next second he jumped up suddenly as if he had discovered a new continent. At this moment, he actually felt a place on his body that he couldn't find before, right between his eyebrows. Niwen Palace. Su Mu's eyes widened, and then with a thought, he concentrated his energy on the center of his eyebrows. Even with his eyes closed, he found himself in a small space. There is boundless darkness everywhere in this space, but there is a light in the middle. In this group of light, the skull of the phantom beast appeared in it at some unknown time, and it was slowly turning, while a wisp of very light and fine mist was drilling in and out of the skull of the phantom beast. Is this the Niwen Palace? Or is it called the Sea of Consciousness? Su Mu is not sure, because he has no knowledge of spiritual cultivation. 773, but apparently, his guessing was the only explanation. The only thing he had heard from Zhao Qinghe was that the Niwen Palace could only be located when the mental power reached 1 Hertz. Obviously, it was because he refined the phantom beast skull that his mental power was finally raised to 1 Hertz. And the skull of the phantom beast that had been completely refined was floating in his sea of consciousness at this moment. With a thought, Su Mu withdrew directly from the sea of consciousness in the next second. When he opened his eyes, his hands were really empty, and the phantom beast skull was gone. But then, his mind moved again, and the skull of the phantom beast appeared in his hand again. This thing can actually be included in the sea of consciousness. Su Emu's brows twitched. This is the skull of a monster. Although it is strange, it is also a foreign object. Su Mu is still a little shocked to be included in the sea of consciousness. But then, when he tried to feel the phantom beast skull, he laughed again in surprise. I see. At this moment, he had already refined the skull of the phantom beast, so he knew a lot of information. This phantom beast skull, because of the particularity of the phantom beast race, can not only be included in the sea of consciousness, but also can continue to nourish his spiritual consciousness in his sea of consciousness. In other words, even if he doesn't practice, his mental strength will gradually increase. There is no need to use up the mental power as before, and then use the Eudemon's skull to recover. In addition, the phantom beast skull has another function: it can be directly summoned as a weapon. Of course, it's not an ordinary weapon. After this phantom beast skull is sacrificed by Su Mu, it can create an illusion. As long as the mental power is not as strong as him, or even comparable to him, it will be confused by this illusion. The corners of Su Emu's mouth turned up. Since then, the combat power data has not changed, but the strength has increased greatly. It is conceivable that the combat power of the two sides is almost the same, but Su Mu used this phantom beast skull, and the opponent was bewildered by the illusion, so why not let him slaughter him? Su Mu summoned the phantom beast skull and held it in his hand, raised his brows. Good stuff. Then, he tried to comprehend supernatural powers again, but even though his spiritual power had increased, he still couldn't continue at less than 40%. Su Mu had no choice but to give up. There are still a lot of fragments of consciousness in the blood pool, but Su Mu can't take them away, so he can only shake his head regretfully. So far, the trip to the Qi and Blood secret realm is over. The time has come, and the harvest is abundant enough. Not only did Su Mu raise his realm to the 6th level and his combat power to tens of millions, but he also had an unexpected surprise. This unexpected joy is the improvement of spiritual power, and refining the skull of the phantom beast, he has another means to fight against the enemy. It's just a pity that I didn't succeed in comprehending the supernatural powers. I can only wait until my mental power becomes stronger in the future. But even if the harvest is extremely rich, Su Mu is still not satisfied. Because the supernatural power he wanted most, he failed to comprehend. Su Mu glanced at the secret realm that was almost wiped out by him alone, and a bold thought emerged: can I refine this illusion directly? When Su Mu thought of this, he even surprised himself. Refining the secret realm, this idea is indeed bold enough. But Su Mu didn't just think about it, he actually sat down cross-legged and tried it. Boom! In the next second, as he was immersed in the refining process, the progress bar really appeared. The progress of refining the blood demon's secret realm is 0. Su Mu couldn't laugh or cry. This obviously told him that he didn't have the ability to refine the secret realm yet. However, this attempt also made Su Mu understand that secret realms can also be refined. If you can really refine this secret realm, what will it be like to carry a secret realm in the future? This secret realm is huge, and the space is not comparable to a storage ring. Moreover, this secret realm can store living things, but the storage ring cannot. And the most important point is that there is something Su Mu wants in this secret realm, and those little fragments that are left can allow him to comprehend supernatural powers. In addition, when you are facing the enemy, you are caught off guard and directly throw a small secret realm. How does it feel? Su Mu shook her head. Forget it, don't be too greedy. Sooner or later I will return to the East China Sea. This secret realm is mine. Su Mu grinned calmly. Next, he really had nothing to do, so he could only wait until the time was almost up before going out. At the same time, there was an extra person at the light gate at the entrance of the secret realm, Li Qingfeng. When Li Qingfeng appeared suddenly, Commander Wang was taken aback. If Chen Xuan hadn't stopped him in time, Commander Wang would have made a move. As soon as Li Qingfeng appeared, he stared straight at Guangmin without saying a word. Is he in there? Chen Xuan nodded. Yes. What did he do? Li Qingfeng continued to ask. Chen Xuan shook his head. This is really unclear. Then the two of you have been staying here, have you found anything unusual? Li Qingfeng continued to ask. Hearing this, Chen Xuan frowned. Yes, the light door flickered violently before, and even cracked, and then it became completely transparent, and the blood red disappeared completely. Hearing this, Li Qingfeng nodded. Look at the token in your hand again. Chen Xuan subconsciously picked up the token to open the secret realm, and the next second, his eyes widened. How is that possible? At this moment, a crack appeared on the token that was originally intact in his hand. Although it is very subtle, it cannot escape his eyes. Li Qingfeng's face was extremely serious. This token is the key to controlling the entrance of the secret realm, and it contains my blood from the past, but now the token has cracks. What does it mean? Chen Xuan shook his head in bewilderment. I don't know, please tell Hui clearly. It means someone is trying to refine the secret realm. Li Qingfeng continued. Upon hearing this, Chen Xuan immediately jumped up. There is no one else around here, and there is only Su Mu in the secret realm. Who else is trying to refine the secret realm? Su Mu. He is a warrior. It's a joke. If this secret realm could be refined, it would not have been kept in the small East China Sea forever. It had already been taken away by the strong men in Fucheng. How could it be his turn to use it for so long in Donghai City? It was even rumored back then that even the king of the Tang dynasty came to the vicinity of the secret realm alone, so he could guess what he was doing. But now that the secret realm is here, it is obvious that the king of Tang dynasty can't take away the small secret realm. Su Mu wants to do something that even the king of the Tang dynasty can't do. Chen Xuan was stunned, but Li Qingfeng smiled. It's interesting, is this trying to grab the treasure from me? Let's see who is one step ahead. Li Qingfeng ran to the entrance because he felt abnormal. The entrance token of the Qi and Blood secret realm was made by him himself. Although he did not refine the secret realm, he left blood essence to maintain the entrance to the secret realm. He naturally wanted to refine this small secret realm, even if there were no treasures in it. But he who was already in the Marquis of Wu realm back then was unable to do it at all, not to mention him, even his father could not do it in the King of Wu realm. But Li Qingfeng did not give up. Unexpectedly, now Su Mu actually has this idea. Not only does he have an idea, but he has obviously started to try it. This kid. Has a lot of secrets. Li Qingfeng shook his head and sighed, then looked at Chen Xuan and the two. What happened today must not be mentioned to anyone. Don't worry, Lord Hu. Chen Xuan naturally knew the seriousness of the matter. No matter how Su Mu did it, it was too horrifying and must not be spread, otherwise Su Mu would be in danger if it would arouse people's covetousness. In the next second, Li Qingfeng disappeared in an instant, leaving only one sentence, "Don't say I've been here." Both Chen Xuan shook their heads. How could they not see that Li Qingfeng was very concerned about Su Mu, but he didn't want Su Mu to know. Li Qingfeng really wanted to accept Su Mu as his disciple, but obviously he didn't want to force Su Mu, because Su Mu had clearly rejected him before. And the fact is also the same. Li Qingfeng left in a hurry, just worried that if he continued to watch, he would not be able to bear it again, so he just took Su Mu away. Wouldn't it be a pity to throw such a monstrosity into the great Tang martial palace for others to teach? The blood energy is exhausted. What state has he reached? Triple, quadruple. How strong is Qi and blood? 100,000 calories. Where is the combat power? 2 million, 3 million. Chen Xuan and the two guessed, and they were also very curious about how many levels Su Mu had broken through and how much his combat power had increased. But I can only guess. They don't have the experience of 9 forging, so they can't guess at all. At the entrance of Guangmen, Chen Xuan and Commander Wang were not allowed to wait too long, and Su Mu came out from the secret realm within the agreed 3 days. But when he came out, the two who wanted to ask about Su Mu's specific progress were completely dumbfounded. At this moment, when Su Mu came out, his body was full of energy and blood, like a scorching sun, which made it impossible to look directly at. Even though Su Mu restrained him quickly, both Chen Xuan and Wang Tongling felt a little bit. Su Mu's qi and blood were slightly turbulent just after she came out, and there were faint abnormal noises from the muscles, bones and even the blood on her body. Judging from the qi and blood unintentionally exuded from Su Mu's body, there are not only 100,000 calories, but 200 to 300,000 calories. Based on such a calculation, the combat power is more than a few million, perhaps tens of millions. Both of them stared wide-eyed. They both consciously chose to shut up. They didn't ask for a blow. When people came out of the secret realm, They cupped their hands. Dutong, Commander Wang. Chen Xuan came back to his senses. Okay, the cultivation is over. We won't ask about the specific progress, and you don't want to tell it. Don't tell anyone. Warriors have to have their own secrets. This surprised Su Mu a bit. He was ready, and the two of them really wanted to inquire about him, and he was ready to speak. Now it's easy. They don't ask, which saves Su Mu a lot of trouble. Today you will stay in the Dutong mansion, and tomorrow morning, I will personally send you to gather with other Tianzhou from Zhongling province who participated in the training camp of the Tang mansion, and go to the city of the Tang mansion to participate in the training and testing. Chen Xuan continued to explain. In Dutong mansion, Su Mu was quickly settled down. Apart from sending some materials, Chen Xuan didn't bother him anymore and let him rest well. The information sent by Chen Xuan also aroused Su Mu's great interest. There are 3 documents in total. The first is the comprehensive ranking of the top 10 Tianzhou in Zhongling province. First place, Su Mu, 9 refinements and first realm, with 58,000 blood cards, record, killed 2 million monsters. The second place, Zhang Hua, 7 forged and 7 levels, with 70,000 blood cards, record, killed 1.8 million combat power monsters. Third place, Qin Yu, 7 forging 6 stage, 68,000 calories of blood, record, killing 1.4 million monsters. Of course, this ranking is based on the results of the hall test. Su Mu is surprisingly the number 1, the number 1 in Zhongling province is really him. But his blood strength and state are not the first, he is strong in combat power, strong in the number of exercises. This ranking Su Mu just glanced at it and didn't pay attention. For him now, only 3 days have passed, but his strength has undergone earth-shaking changes. Not to mention the other geniuses in Zhongling province, even the geniuses of the entire Datang mansion may not be able to compare with him. Then, the second file is still a list. Named the Datang Qianlong list. There are a total of 1,000 people on the list, and they are the previous apprentices who participated in the Datang mansion's training and test. It can also be regarded as the ranking of the whole Datang mansion in the current hall test. The first place, Zhou Han, 7th refinement 9th stage, 93,000 calories of energy and blood, record, killed 3 million combat power monsters. The second place, Fang Junyan, 7 refinement 9 level, 90,000 blood cards, record, killed 2.8 million combat power monsters. The third place, Chen Yunxi, 7 forging and 8th stage, 86,000 calories of blood, record, killed 2.4 million combat power monsters. The fourth place, Wang Mufeng, 7 forged and 8th stage, with 83,000 qi and blood, record, killing 2.3 million combat power monsters. Fifth place, Wang Mukching, 7th refinement 8th stage, 80,000 qi and blood cards, record, killed 2.3 million combat power monsters. The sixth place, Xu Junfeng, 7 forging and 7 levels, with 78,000 calories of energy and blood, record, 223 hits to kill 2.1 million combat power monsters. Su Mu actually only ranked 7th, and far from the first place. Su Mu also had to feel that she still underestimated the evildoers in the world. Some of these guys started to use all kinds of natural materials and earth treasures to warm them up in their mother's womb, and some began to prepare for tempering as soon as they were born. There was no shortage of resources, combat skills, or anything. Of course, this list is actually only on the surface. For example, Zhang Zi, a disciple taught by Li Qingfeng that Su Mu met, has 7 forging and 7 stages, and 70,000 cards of energy and blood. Zhang Zi's record is to kill 1.6 million monsters, but that's because his combat skills are not strong, and Li Qingfeng is still sharpening his combat awareness. Zhang Zi's combat power itself is only 1.4 million, because the combat skills have increased by 18 times, and the weapons have only increased by 20 times. But just like that, he killed 1.6 million monsters with combat strength. Apart from Zhang Zi, how many other hidden monsters are not on the list? Su Mu is not sure, there is not even a Li on the list. The Li family is the head of the Great Tang Palace, so there is not a single younger generation in this class. Anyway, Su Mu doesn't believe it. The last document is the introduction of the process and precautions of the Datang Wufu training and test. That is what Su Mu will be involved in next, and he read it carefully. In today's human realm, there are a total of 36 great mansions. Almost every big mansion implements the same 5-level training system for halls, 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 and halls. Datang Mansion, the only martial mansion is Datang Martial Mansion, which was established by the founding king, Datang King himself, and is still the head of the martial mansion. The martial palace of the Great Tang Dynasty is the highest hall of martial arts in the mansion of the Tang Dynasty, and everyone who can enter the martial palace of the Great Tang Dynasty is the generation of arrogance and evildoers. The minimum requirement is 50,000 calories and blood. This is not the score line for entering the Datang Martial House, but the score line for participating in the training camp organized by the Datang Martial House alone. And after the training camp, there is an assessment, and only after passing the training can they be regarded as formal students of the Great Tang Martial House. Of course, under normal circumstances, to be eligible to participate in the training camp, the talent is not low. As long as you work hard, the elimination rate is not high under normal circumstances. This year, the total number of apprentices who participated in the training camp was just over 1,000. The training camp was organized by the Demon Army of Datang Mansion Town, and the location was in the fiery place outside the city, the first camp of the Demon Army of Datang Mansion Town. Apprentices who have reached the score line in Datang City and the major provinces are sent to the camp, where the Junyao Army organizes training. The training lasts for 1 month. At the end of the training camp, there is no dividing line, no testing, but an elimination system at the end. According to the ranking of military merit, only 1,000 people will be selected in the end. In other words, even if the number 1001 has high military merits, they will still be eliminated. This is the rule of the Datang Wufu training and testing, which is extremely cruel. In Donghai City, in this test, the vitality and blood exceeded 50,000, that is to say, Su Mu was the only one who reached the training standard. Zhang Zi is naturally not counted, he is a special case, he has the masterly Qingfeng Huyi, so it is the same if he does not need to go to Datang Wufu. So, early the next morning Chen Xuan took Su Mu on the road alone. Chen Xuan, a strong Marquis of Wu realm, even if he is just a beginner, he is still a real Marquis of Wu. He took Su Mu on the road at a faster speed. The first stop of the two was Zhongling City, the capital of Zhongling Province. When they arrived in Zhongling and Zhongling Province, other trainees who participated in the training camp gathered, and then they were sent to the place of fire outside Fucheng to participate in the training camp. Chen Xuanhei's personality is completely different from Wang Yang's. When Su Mu rushed from Donglai City to Donghai to participate in the test, Wang Yang began to encourage Su Mu to fight for face along the way, but Wang Yang was not disappointed in the end. But Chen Xuan is different. Not only did he not encourage Su Mu to compete with other talents in Zhongling Province, but instead he told Su Mu to try not to conflict with others, and peace is the most important thing in everything. The status of Donghai City in Gangneung Province is similar to Dongnei's status in Donghai City, they are both at the end. Chen Xuan earnestly reminded, Zhongling City and even other big cities are naturally arrogant, even the older generation is also arrogant, and their speech may be difficult to hear. You don't have to worry about it, just go in one ear and out the other. Chen Xuanhei's worries were not for nothing. Su Mu ranked first in Zhongling Province, and when the list came out, let alone people from other big cities, even Chen Xuan himself couldn't believe it. Donghai City ranks at the bottom, and this year Tangche actually occupies the first place in Zhongling Province. The most important thing is that Su Mu's qi and blood value in the test is not the highest. He can rank first because he finally killed a monster with a combat strength of 200 kilograms, and he still has 9 forgings. Hearing Chen Xuanhei's words, Su Mu can naturally say, "Don't worry, I won't cause trouble, as long as they don't provoke me, I won't mess around." Of course, there is still the second half of the sentence left unsaid, not causing trouble, but not afraid of trouble. The principle that Su Mu has always adhered to is that no one offends me, and I will not offend others. Of course, if there are interests, offenders must offend others. In short, it is 1 point, not cowardly, but definitely not reckless. Seeing Su Mu like this, and hearing Su Mu's words, Chen Xuan shook his head helplessly and smiled wryly. Obviously, Su Mu is not a good stubble. Even though he hasn't been in contact with Su Mu for a long time, didn't Su Mu overwhelm all the apprentices in Pingchang City when he entered Donghai City? That's called not causing trouble. Later, the test was a little more low-key, but didn't they also clean up Lu Baosai, and beat the faces of Mo Lingyun and Chen Tianxi, the two great heroes of Donghai City? And Huyi Li Qingfeng, Su Mu dared to fight hard with others, and finally defeated Li Qingfeng's personal disciple Zhang Zi in a disguised form. If this is called not causing trouble, Chen Xuan doesn't know what is called causing trouble. But after thinking about it, he was relieved again. With Su Mu's current strength, can he suffer in Zhongling? What a joke. Soon, a huge city appeared in Su Mu's eyes. This city covers an extremely wide area, and it is not known how many times larger than Donghai City. Before he got close, Su Mu saw a lot of warriors coming in and out, and they didn't seem to be weak. But thinking about it, Zhongling City is the capital of Zhongling Province. The Tang Mansion governs a total of 12 provinces. This is a big city. It is normal for such a big city to be like clouds. Chen Xuan, the capital of Donghai City, is Jing. He is one of the top powerhouses in Donghai, and of course the Marquis Li Qingfeng must be excluded. Li Qingfeng is not from the East China Sea, he just lived in seclusion in the East China Sea temporarily, not counting. As for Chen Xuan, if placed in Zhongling City, he would still be a strong man, but he might no longer be the top existence. Soon, the two entered the city after landing and verifying their identities. It was a long distance from the city gate to the Zhongling Town Guard Mansion, where the assembly was held, and he couldn't fly, so Chen Xuan had to take Su Mu to take a taxi to go there. At this moment, there were already people waiting at the assembly point in front of the Zhongling Town Guard's mansion. These are the students and their elders who have reached the score line of the Detang Martial Mansion training in Zhongling Province. One after another, people came to the scene to greet everyone. Not long after, about 20 apprentices had already arrived, and only a few cities that were far away had not yet arrived, and Donghai City was naturally included among them. When everyone gathered together, it was natural for them to chat and even compare. But this time was different from previous years. When everyone met, no matter if they were the strong men of the older generation or the apprentices of the younger generation, the focus of discussion was the same. That is Su Mu of Donghai City, this time the champion of Zhongling Province. Wang Hao. Donghai Su Mu, have you heard of it? I've never heard of it. I've been to the East China Sea before. I've heard of the two giants, Mo Lingyun and Chen Tianxi, but those two are still not up to the training standard of the Great Tang Martial Palace. I've never heard of it. I'm afraid Chen Dutong deliberately hid it, and only amplified his tricks at the end. It's really shocking. 9 trainings and 1 heavy, 2 million men. Do you really believe in this combat power? Why don't you believe it? Although Donghai City is organizing its own test, there are also inspectors from the province present, and they all have uniform standards. Unified standard means no moisture. That's not necessarily the case. While everyone was discussing, Su Mu and Chen Xuan arrived. As soon as they arrived at the scene, they heard everyone's discussion. Chen Xuan only frowned, and then relaxed it again. It can be seen that the two have arrived, although the discussion among the crowd stopped, but someone said in a strange way, "Hey, the champion of Zhongling has arrived." Su Mu frowned as soon as the strange voice came out. Although Chen Xuan also frowned, he quickly smiled and bowed to many old acquaintances. Thanks to the concessions of my colleagues, this time I, Donghai, was lucky, just lucky. Chen Xuanhei's original intention is that peace is the most important thing, even if these old acquaintances speak a little harshly, he doesn't care much. Speaking of which, he is considered a young man among this group of people, and he should respect his predecessors. As he said that, Chen Xuan brought Su Mu to the crowd, and was about to introduce to everyone, but someone jokingly said again, "Chen Dutong, your water content is a bit heavy this time." Chen Xuanhei's face froze, but he still tried his best to restrain himself. Master Zhang was joking. The Donghai City Hall test operates strictly according to the standard, and there are provincial inspectors on the spot to supervise it, so I dare not get wet. City Lord Zhang, the one who just spoke, is Zhang Wanming, Deputy City Lord of Zhongling City. Zhongling City is the capital of Zhongling Province. The city lord is concurrently held by the guard Yanyan, but the actual management is still the king of Luokong. Although he tried his best to restrain himself, Chen Xuan was like a mirror in his heart. Of course he knew why City Lord Zhang was targeting him and Su Mu. The reason is very simple. The city lord Zhang took office with him at the beginning, and the two competed for the governor of the East China Sea. In the end, Chen Xuan won because of his young age and went to the East China Sea to serve as the governor. Zhang Wanming stayed in Zhongling as the deputy city lord. It seems that Zhongling City is bigger and richer, and the deputy city lord of Zhongling City is also at the same level as Du. But in fact, no one wants to be the second child, and everyone wants to be the boss. No matter how bad Donghai City is, wherever he goes to be the governor, he will monopolize the power and sit on one side. Therefore, after that incident, Zhang Wanming felt uncomfortable, seeing Chen Xuan in various ways that were not pleasing to the eye. And this time in the hall test, Zhang Wanming's youngest son, Zhang Hua, was supposed to be the number one, but Su Mu popped up halfway. That's all. The most annoying thing is that Su Mu's blood value is not as high as Zhang Hua's. When this happened, anyone would be uncomfortable, let alone Zhang Wanming, who was not very careful. Therefore, even if Zhang Wanming deliberately acidified him, Chen Xuan still maintained restraint. But when Chen Xuan finished speaking, Zhang Wanming curled his lips. That's not sure, and the supervisor will not keep an eye on you all the time. Who knows what happened to the so-called 2 million monsters? Even Chen Xuan was mild-tempered, but he frowned fiercely at this moment. But before he could refute, Zhang Wanming waved his hand indifferently. Don't worry, it's just a joke. As he spoke, he turned his head and chatted with the others around him. Being a person can't be too honest. Look at others, and if you use a little bit of tricks, the results will be completely different. Lao Zhang is right, but you can't talk about this matter. No matter what, there are inspectors present, and it would be bad if it gets to the ears of the inspector. That's right, I think the next test will have to change the rules. It's not enough just to arrange supervisors to go to various places, especially the combat power test. There was a lot of discussion among the people. Although they didn't directly say that there was a problem with the moisture in the test in Donghai City, it was obvious that they were saying so. Hearing these words, Chen Xuanhei's face completely darkened. Su Mu also frowned fiercely. He took a step forward, but was caught by Chen Xuan. Chen Xuan shook his head at Su Mu. Su Mu broke free angrily, but didn't make a sound. I thought it was over. But seeing that Chen Xuan didn't make a sound, Zhang Wanming became even more energetic, and the next second he waved to his youngest son Zhang Hua. By the way, I was so busy chatting that I forgot to give the juniors a chance to bond. As he spoke, Zhang Wanming pulled Zhang Hua and said, The guard hasn't come yet, I have nothing to do. Go to contact with the evildoers of all parties, or discuss and learn from each other, especially the champion Lang Su Mu. Don't be convinced, his combat power is real. After Zhang Wanming's words fell, many strong people around laughed and echoed. That's BFAF, exchange and exchange. We are both the pride of the Zhongling province, and we have to support each other when we go to the martial palace of the Tang dynasty. That's right, the combat power of champion Lang Su Mu is really amazing. Why don't I let Su Mu show it to everyone? Come on, don't hide it. Yes, 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 show your hand, show your hand. With everyone coaxing like this, Chen Xuanhei's temper became angry no matter how good he is. Communication. Okay. He turned his head and looked at Su Mu. Go and communicate with them. Chen Xuan gritted his teeth, and he repeated the word, communication, with an accentuated tone. He originally wanted to be friendly, but obviously he didn't appreciate it at all, and he pushed his nose and face again and again. Do you really think that Su Mu's combat power is watery? Chen Xuanhei's face was cold. It happened that he had been aggrieved for a long time. After Chen Xuan finished speaking, Su Mu laughed immediately. He took a step forward and looked directly at Zhang Hua and other young talents of the younger generation. There is no need for communication. Fists and feet have no eyes, it is better to change it to fighting. Even Su Mu spoke. Of course Zhang Hua wouldn't give in, he snorted coldly. I just want to learn about Zhuang Yuanlang's brilliant moves. As he said that, Zhang Hua's body surged with energy and blood, and he also took a step to face Su Mu head on. But in the next second, Su Mu shook his head. One-on-one, how troublesome. As he spoke, he scanned the audience of more than 20 apprentices in a circle. Anyone who refuses to accept me as the number one scholar in Zhongling or thinks that I am sloppy will be punished. As soon as these words came out, everyone on the scene was stunned. In the next second, a burst of laughter from the strong men of the older generation spread directly. This little guy has such a big breath. Old Chen, this is the talent you cultivated in the East China Sea. I think it should be called naive. Ha 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 ha, one person challenges everyone. Chen Dutong, hurry up and persuade me, if you get bumped later, don't you feel so bad? That's right, pull it back quickly, it's not good to delay the next training camp. Chen Xuan, who always valued peace before, sneered. No need, what my Donghai man said is spit out, and I never took it back. Just do as Su Mu said, if he loses or gets hurt, he will ask for it, even if he dies, I won't hold anyone accountable. Of course, the premise is that you old buddies are not allowed to interfere, otherwise don't blame me, Mr. Chen, for being rude. At this moment, Chen Xuan also became domineering, no longer humble and easygoing as before. As soon as these words came out, a group of people frowned and looked at Chen Xuan in surprise. Not to mention that they felt a little unfamiliar with Chen Xuan. Chen Xuan, who had just said these words, was also taken aback. Am I influenced by Su Mu? Impossible, but don't say it, it's cool to be aggressive. Seeing that the older generation had no objections, Zhonghua looked at Su Mu. Are you sure you want to challenge everyone? Su Mu stared, and snorted impatiently. There's a lot of bullshit, come if you dare, get out if you don't dare. Such a big tone, do you really think that you are invincible? It's just a matter of time to ask Zhuangyuan Lang for advice. Fist and feet have no eyes, don't cry later. Without Zhonghua opening his mouth, a group of apprentices glared at him and surrounded Su Mu directly. Of course, the people who came forward were basically from Zhongling City, and most of the people from other big cities were on the sidelines, except for a few who had a good relationship with Zhonghua. In an instant, the crowd separated, giving up a piece of land for them to do it. Zhang Wanming and other strong men of the older generation watched this scene with strange smiles. They even wanted to see the expression they wanted from Chen Xuanhei's face, but it was a pity that they were disappointed. Chen Xuan was very calm, even with a smile. But some people couldn't stand it anymore. Old Chen, are you really fighting? What nonsense. Chen Xuan also imitated Su Mu and directly turned back. Dutong, who was about to give Chen Xuan the step down just now, turned dark and walked directly to the side. Clang clang clang. At this moment, 10 apprentices including Zhonghua directly surrounded Su Mu, and each took out their weapons. None of them were weak, they were all imported weapons, not even a single alloy weapon. All of them burst out with chi and blood, soaring straight into the sky. Even if they were only small warriors, their momentum was not weak at all. These 10 apprentices were filled with righteous indignation. They had no choice but to change their minds even when they didn't want to have any trouble with Su Mu, because Su Mu was too arrogant. He wants to hit everyone alone, this is not taking anyone seriously. Then, Su Mu frowned, waved and took out the bleeding gun from the storage ring. But in the next second, Chen Xuan coughed dryly, cough cough cough. Before Chen Xuan could open his mouth, Zhang Wanming stared straight at him. Why? You regretted it, it's all like this, and you still ask them to stop. That's no fun. Chen Xuan gave Zhang Wanming a blank look, and said to Su Mu, put it up, do you really want to kill them? Puff. As soon as Chen Xuan said this, many strong people on the scene almost vomited blood. I thought Chen Xuan was worried that Su Mu would get hurt or something, but Chen Xuan was actually afraid that Su Mu would kill their descendants. A group of people glared at Chen Xuan one after another. Chen Xuan didn't care either. He reminded Su Mu that he was really worried that Su Mu didn't care enough. If he killed a Tianzhao, it would be a big trouble. No matter how conflicted they are, everyone is still from Zhongling province, so if one of them is killed, there will be no end to death. But hearing this, Su Mu really smiled and nodded, and then put the blood-spraying gun back. Immediately, the faces of a group of apprentices became extremely ugly, and the elders of the group were also furious. Su Mu, are you sure you don't use weapons? Seeing Su Mu put away the spear, Zhonghua frowned fiercely. You don't need it, and neither do we. HMPH, who do you look down on? Do you really think you are invincible? 10 against 10 without weapons. Su Mu, you're too ostentatious. A group of apprentices spoke angrily. With that said, everyone will put away their weapons. But Su Mu raised his hand. Don't do it, I'm not responsible for killing you without weapons. A group of apprentices collapsed, and it was not a matter of taking back the weapons in their hands, or not taking them back. Take it back, Su Mu said. So, is it necessary? And this fool is so arrogant, he deserves to be killed. Don't accept it. 10 people against 1, and even using weapons, this bullying is too obvious. Even if you win, you will lose your face. But at this moment, Zhang Wanming spoke up. What he said himself, he doesn't need to take back his weapon, and he doesn't need to worry about it. Our Datang Manor has rules. Warriors are free to fight. If he doesn't use it himself, he will be at his own risk. Hearing this, everyone was distracted. In the next second, the energy and blood on Su Emu's body suddenly rose, and he raised his hand instantly, pointing out. He is referring to the gun, displaying the martial skill Rainstorm Pear Blossom. At the same time as Su Mu moved, 10 apprentices headed by Zhonghua also moved one after another. In an instant, blood rose to the sky at the scene, and various weapons of swords, guns, swords and halberds suddenly appeared, covering Su Mu instantly. This scene is basically a group of people beating one. Su Mu might not even have the chance to fight back. Everyone seemed to have seen the scene where Su Mu fell into a pool of blood instantly. But at this moment, as soon as Su Mu pointed out, there were finger shadows all around, and several phantoms appeared in front of every apprentice. The weirdest thing was that everyone present couldn't tell which one was his real finger shadow. Just at the beginning, Zhang Wanming and other strong men of the older generation, who still had a playful smile on their faces just now, changed their colors. This combat skill, Storm Pear Flower Gun, it doesn't seem like it. Is it still possible to refer to a gun? Before they came back to their senses, there was a scream. But a group of strong men didn't see who made the screams, and then the second, third, and fourth. The screams came one after another, so a group of people saw a scene that they would never forget in this life. On the field, Zhonghua and a group of apprentices flashed a finger quickly in front of them, and with a light tap, one person fell down. The speed was so fast that it was difficult to capture. Even Su Emu's shadow could not be seen clearly, only a finger suddenly appeared, and then pointed out. Even though this group of apprentices is not weak, they can't react at all. In the blink of an eye, a group of people were lying on the ground. Of the 10 apprentices, not one was left, including Zhonghua, all lying on the ground and howling in pain. Someone has a blood hole in his chest, someone has a blood hole in his arm, and someone has a blood hole in his back. Everyone's common injury is the same. There is a blood hole, the blood is flowing, and the bones can be seen deep. But at this moment, Su Mu was still standing there, flicking the remaining blood on her fingertips with contempt. The scene was extremely strange. Except for the screams of a group of apprentices, there was only the sound of a group of strong people breathing. Participating in the besieging of Su Mu was not only Zhonghua, who had higher vitality than him, but also Qin Yu, who also had higher vitality than Su Mu. Others may be weaker, but they all have a blood strength of more than 50,000 calories. As for combat power, almost every apprentice is more than 1 million. But just like this, Su Mu is still not a single enemy. As soon as he pointed out one person fell down. Even the arrogance like Zhonghua and Qin Yu couldn't stop it at all. Su Emu's combat skills are extremely strange, not only extremely powerful, but also difficult to defend and evade. So, it turned out like this. At the scene, a group of older generations all hissed and gasped, watching this weird scene with horror on their faces. Especially Zhang Wanming, his face turned green. Zhonghua is his youngest son, so he naturally knows his strength best. But now, facing Su Mu like an ant, he couldn't figure it out at all. At the scene, the only one who remained calm was Chen Xuan. Of course, he was also a little shocked, because he didn't know how strong Su Mu is now, but he guessed that he would definitely not be weak. Just kidding, Su Emu's previous record of 2 million was not worth the slightest amount of water. Not only were there supervisors, but also the Marquis Li Qingfeng was there. And there's no need to fake it. In addition, Su Mu absorbed the energy of the secret realm in 3 days, and the chi from the secret realm was so rich that even a Marquis of Wu was shocked. Under such conditions, how can Su Mu be weak? Looking at all the geniuses lying on the ground, Chen Xuan actually felt a little gloating at this moment, even feeling happy. He just wanted to say, deserve it. After a few breaths, a group of strong men of the older generation came back to their senses. When my juniors didn't go up to beat up Sumyu, they were all covered in cold sweat at the moment, incessantly. So strong. Is this really only 2 million combat power? I think Donghai's test is really watery. This guy's grades are so low. Fortunately, my kid was not allowed to go up. However, the group of younger generations who went up to beat up Sumyu completely collapsed. Although the injury is not serious, it is also too ugly. A group of apprentices have not been beaten, and they have been in a state of greenhouse cultivation since the body was quenched. The most daily battles are to learn from their classmates, and it is better to pick out wounded monsters and practice hands with less dangerous monsters. That's all. Many were not even seriously injured. Therefore, when Sumyu pointed out that blood holes appeared on the body, and even a little bone was injured, a group of people were crying and howling like ghosts and wolves, just like dead parents. Immediately, a group of strong men of the older generation were so distressed that they were dying, and they stood up one by one. As for Chen Xuan, his nerves tensed instantly, and he came to Sumyu in a flash, for fear that others would hurt Sumyu. A group of older generations helped up their juniors one after another, and hurriedly applied medicines, and treated their injuries distress-edly. Immediately afterwards, while shocked, a group of people also turned their heads and glared at Sumyu and Chen Xuan. My surname is Chen, I don't play like you. That's right, isn't this attack too ruthless? Chen Xuan, you are hiding evil intentions, knowing that Sumyu is extremely powerful and still let him attack. A group of people shouted angrily. Chen Xuanhei's eyes widened, and he was also really angry. A group of shameless people, why, still rely on us? Choke. In the next second, Chen Xuan had a long spear in his hand. Anyway, it was already like this today, why should peace be the most important thing? A group of strong men of the older generation darkened their faces and turned their heads away. But Zhang Wanming directly pushed away the crowd and stood in the front row. He also waved his hand, and a long knife with a cold light appeared. You want to do it? My surname is Zhang, I've seen you upset for a long time, so I'll hit you as soon as possible. I'm afraid you won't succeed. What everyone didn't expect was that Chen Xuan didn't know whether it was influenced by Sumyu or what, but he went all out directly and completely. The voice fell, and Yu Gun directly stabbed out. When, in the next second, the two people who were about to get on the bar were forcibly separated, and each backed away a long way. A middle-aged man appeared at the scene without anger and prestige. See Lord Guardian. Immediately afterwards, the complexion of a group of people changed, and they greeted each other one after another. The person who came was none other than the Zhongling province guard Yan Yun, the strong Wu Zun. Just now he took over the weapons of Chen Xuan and Zhang Wanming with only his fleshy palm, which shows the horror of the strong Wu Zun. Yan Yun's face was a bit ugly. He scanned the crowd of strong men in a circle. Are you too embarrassed? Make a fuss in front of the younger generation. Guardian, it's not me. Zhang Wanming was about to explain. But Yan Yun stared at him, and Zhang Wanming could only swallow the words abruptly. Yan Yun's face became even colder. Look at your appearance, do you know why you are inferior to human beings? Yan Yun pointed to Sumyu. Zhang Wanming and the others frowned fiercely, but they all lowered their heads. Now, who dares to say that Sumyu, the #1 scholar in Zhongling province, has water? Sumyu's strength is more than 2 million. HMPH. I have said on weekdays, let the younger generation practice and experience more, but they don't listen to it. They feel that they are still young and do not have the strength to face monsters. Now you know. Yan Yun continued to snort coldly. He's already here, just a sight to see. When a group of people fight against one, they are not opponents. That's all. He also found that Sumyu is not easy. Not to mention the realm of combat power, the combat skills of transforming the realm alone are not comparable to other apprentices. What made him angry was that a group of apprentices were crying and howling after being defeated. It was because a group of elders did not reprimand their juniors, and felt that Sumyu was too harsh. Yan Yun reprimanded him with a cold face, but in the end he didn't bother to say much, and said directly. Everyone, clean up your own area after you go back. From now on, apprentice training will add a new course, the actual combat class. There are so many monsters in the wild, let's kill them all and fight. Don't forget, how did today's short-lived comfort come about? It was paid for by the blood of the martyrs. And is this a time of peace? Monsters and beasts are rampant in the wild, and the underground caves are in turmoil. My 5 great legions of the Tang Mansion can't be idle for a moment. Everyone will be fined for 1 month. After announcing the result, Yan Yun turned to Su Mu and Chen Xuan. Chen Xuan was extremely happy in his heart, and he was not good at covering himself up, so he just looked at the guard Yan Yun cheerfully. Yan Yun stared. You too. Immediately, Chen Xuanhe's face turned dark. Yan Yun didn't care about Chen Xuan, but looked at Su Mu, and carefully sized him up. That's right, you can be called arrogant and evildoer. Before Su Mu could thank Yan Yun for his evaluation, Yan Yun looked at Chen Xuan again. Are you sure he's only at the first stage of 9 forging? Chen Xuan shook his head in embarrassment, then nodded again. It was true when he was tested, but now, of course not. Yan Yun took a deep breath and didn't continue to ask any more questions. He turned to look at Su Mu. Going to Fucheng, don't mind what happened today, I hope you can put aside the past and take good care of my many juniors in Zhongling. Su Mu cupped his fists respectfully at Yan Yun and bowed. The guardian is serious, as long as they don't hold grudges, I will naturally not hold grudges. Yan Yun smiled and nodded, then spoke loudly. Let's go out of Zhongling together, we should be united, and I hope you will remember it. Remember, Lord Guardian. A group of apprentices didn't dare to scream anymore, and responded nervously. Then, Yan Yun said again, fighting in the nest is not a good man. If you have the ability to compete with the Tianzhao in Fucheng, compete with the Yaozu and the aliens in the cave. In this year's intensive training class, there are descendants of the 5 generals, and there are descendants of strong men from all sides. Which evildoers are the targets for you to catch up with? There are several large demon courts in the wild, and there are countless monsters, and there are also many monsters in the same realm as you. Among the 4 great caves, there are countless foreign arrogances, and those are your opponents. Yan Yun yelled slogans for a while, and when the blood of the crowd was boiling, he waved his hand, and a long sword was actually good at facing the wind, straddling the sky. Magic weapon. A treasure that only Marquis Wu, or even Qi trainers above Wu Zun, can control. Okay, let's go to your bright future. With a wave of Yan Yun's hand, all the 28 students from Zhongling province who participated in the Detang Wufu training were sent to the sword body. In the next second, the long sword flashed and went straight away. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.